fax it to the district office personnel.
That goes to whom?
That goes to personnel. So this training is mostly going to focus on introducing you to Canvas. You guys, I know many of you are familiar with Canvas and you've already started building your courses in Canvas, so it might be a lot of review, but at the same time, I think it's kind of just a good way to remind you of all the tools and functions that Canvas has, and see how it is you want to implement it into your distance learning virtual class. So if you want to do a share screen, or not a share screen, but a split screen, so you've got my Zoom on one side, and if you're opening a window of your own, in order to get to Canvas, you go to leusd.instructure.com. I make it just a little, bookmark up at the top of my screen, so I'm not having to type it in every time. And then you're going to use your district login credentials, your Office 365 email, and sign in or password to sign into that. I think what we'll be suggesting most to students is to sign in through Clever, because then they'll have access to a lot of their other single sign-on things that they may be needing to use for their assignments and to access their curriculum. So that's just a clever.com, and again, the same sign-ins, their Office 365 credentials. If students aren't sure where to look for Canvas, you can do one of two things. You can create your own page, your own Clever page that has all the tools you use, or you can direct them to the blended learning title, and that would have the Canvas tile below the blended learning title. So when you first log in to that leusd.instructure, you're taken to your dashboard. The dashboard shows you two things. It shows you all your published courses at the top, and then it shows you all your unpublished courses at the bottom. Just know the difference is if your courses are unpublished, no students can see them, even if they're enrolled in them, because the course is created in from IC and it talks to Canvas. They won't be able to see it until you click that publish button right there. And once you click that publish button, it will push it up into the published courses section of your dashboard. I have had a couple people ask me, can I clean up my dashboard? And you absolutely can. So I'm going to show you quickly how to do that.
I'm sorry, will we get a copy of this or no?
Yes, you will.
Okay.
So I'm here in my published courses. I still have a lot of like the enrichment learning courses here. If you have courses on your dashboard from last year that you don't want to see anymore, it's as easy as hitting these three dots, clicking move, and hitting unfavorite. And it's going to tell you you're about to remove it from your dashboard. You hit submit, and then that goes away. So you can have this just showing your 2 or 3 or 5 tiles for the various classes that you're teaching.
Just so once you've done that, it archives it somewhere. You can go back and retrieve it if you want to.
Right. So over here in courses, I can still get to any of my courses that I've had from 2018 through now here. So if I saw something that I wanted to show up, like let's say this is my husband's ACTEC course. If I notice right now the star is empty. If I click it, now it's going to appear on my dashboard. So those are the two different ways you can. So now I have his EHS ACTEC health year on my dashboard. You can also arrange those same 3 dots will also arrange, like if you want it at the top of your list, at the bottom of your list, so you can move them. If I wanted to move it, well, it's already at the top, but if I wanted to move it down, move it to the bottom, then it would move it to the bottom of my published courses. So you can just arrange how you most want it to look. So what we're going to be starting with for you guys is we're going to be starting with you creating a template curriculum, or some of you have already started creating a template curriculum, because you don't have these classes yet. You don't have these sections yet. You don't have any students in those sections. So you're going to be creating kind of this empty blank course by clicking Start a New Course. And that's in the upper right-hand corner of your, it should be in the upper right-hand corner of your dashboard. Let me just take a look real quick here. Maybe in the lower. So here I have Start a New Course. So that's what you would click on, and then you would name it. So you could name it Health Template, you could name it Social Studies 8 Template, whatever you want to name it, so you know what class and curriculum are going in there. We can build in here, and then when those courses are created from IC with the students in it, it's an easy import of the curriculum.
That was my next question, getting the students into your course in Canvas. Will we have to go pull each kid in?
No, that's done automatically through Infinite Campus. As soon as the course section is created in Infinite Campus, and as soon as kids are rostered in it, like it takes like maybe a day, you know.
So it talks to IC.
It talks to IC, yes.
All right, and so our courses will show up with the correct numbers with the kids in them.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So whatever you're wanting to name your course, you would just name it here. I've done English 9, Quarter 1, Quarter 3 templates. So I kind of make different classes, and then I hit Create Course. And then when you hit Create Course, it's going to make you one of these little squares. Initially, that square will show up down here in your unpublished courses. And that's fine. You can totally work on it when it's in the unpublished format. If you wanted it to be published, you're the only person in that class right now, so you're the only one seeing it anyway. You see it whether it's published or unpublished. But if you wanted to publish it, so because you wanted to maybe do like I do, where I put my own daughter in my practice classes and, you know, have her log in and stuff like that, then you can publish it.
Okay, one more thing for clarification. They're going to, because when I opened this the very first time several months ago, my courses were listed in there, even though I was not using it.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's
when
automatically created, yeah.
That is correct. So that's the course we would open. I'm not seeing. I'm seeing a split between what I've created and then what they put in there.
So if they're old courses and you never use them and you never put content into them, then you can just hide them, make them an unfavorite so they're not showing up there on your dashboard.
Right, but for what I've done now, started creating courses, when the district puts my kids in a course, it's going to show up as a separate square. Is that correct? Or am I confused?
Each one is a different course. Yeah, each one is a different square.
Right, so I'll have to transfer everything I've created or take those kids and put them into what I've created already after the district brings the kids in.
So if you have a course created and you have content in there and you have all your assignments, in the new course that gets created with students, new students, our virtual students, will go into that course and will import the content from your old courses. So they don't have to be here on your dashboard. You just need to know the name of the class that has your content in it. Let me just show you really quickly.
Yeah, and that would have been what I created. And then the district comes along with the names of my students. They're not going to know where to dump them in terms of what I've created. So
let me just show you really quickly.
And I'm speaking of currently. I'm not speaking of last year. I'm speaking of what I've created so far.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to come in and create another course essentially. So how do I merge the two?
So if you if when the district creates the class from IC, it looks like this when you log into it. It doesn't have anything in there. However,
okay, so I just import.
You just import. You just click import existing content, and then you grab it from the other class that already has the stuff. All right, so over on the left side of your screen, when you're logged in here on Canvas, you've got this blue menu. So this is just kind of a general overview of what each of those does. So your account, that's where your profile, settings, notifications are. Notifications are important, and I'll talk about those a little bit later. Just you determine what emails you get from Canvas letting you know whether students have turned assignments in, whether they've commented on something, maybe that they've sent you a message through Canvas. So you get email notifications, and you just need to set them up, whether you get them right away, you get them at the end of the day, end of the week, or end of the month. I would definitely not suggest right away, because you'll be inundated with emails every time one little thing happens. But if you choose like to be notified of certain things daily, it'll send you one email that has everything in there of what you asked to be notified about. Courses I showed you, that's where you can get to all your courses you've ever created, and then where you can decide which ones you want to see on your dashboard. The calendar is nice, especially for our students, because they can then see everything that's due on a given day. Calendar is nice from a teacher perspective. I'll just show you really quickly, because if you created assignments in your classes and something happens, or you happen to be out and you know, they're not going to get the instruction they need, or whatever the case may be, then you can easily, hold on, I just got to let someone in because they got kicked out of the meeting. You can easily change your due dates just by dragging. So if I want the reading, instead of being due Thursday, now I want it due Friday because something happened or kids needed a little extra time, I can just drag and drop on my calendar, and that can change the due date. You're not having to go into every individual assignment.
So when you create the assignment, then it's automatically put on your calendar?
Yeah, so long as you put a due date on it, then it will show up on the calendar.
Oh, that makes sense, because I did the summer school, and I noticed like some of the stuff I didn't put due dates on it, so I didn't really look at the calendar though.
Yeah, and I don't usually use the calendar either, but I think it's good for, especially, you know, our secondary kids who have multiple teachers. Then they can see, oh, for this class I got to do this, and for that class I got to do this, and so on. And so they can see kind of a list of everything they have to do in that one day for all their classes. They're not having to go into
so on their view, it's showing all their assignments from all their Canvas courses.
Yes, that would be due that day. Yes. Okay. Inbox here is your Canvas email system, so you can access. You can message your students, you can message other teachers. Commons is where you can look for already created content, and you can type in, like if you wanted to teach something on Romeo and Juliet, you can type that in, and maybe someone's already created a module on Romeo and Juliet and they have stuff all put together. You can choose to import their whole module, or you can pick and choose what you like. But Commons can get overwhelming, so just keep that in mind, and, you know, do the best you can, but don't get overwhelmed and lost in it for days at a time. Studio is the Canvas partnered video integration. If some of you are familiar with Edpuzzle, it works very similarly, where you can either create your own videos or you can embed YouTube videos into your Studio, and then you can create quizzes in those videos that kind of ensures that students are watching the video and answering those questions. And then finally, you've got your help feature, which is awesome, and I'll mention it again at the end, but there are all kinds of guides about how to use Canvas. There's a number, a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week number where you can call and talk to someone who can, you know, pop into your course and see what you're seeing. They can see your screen, so you guys can solve a lot of problems by talking to them. So that's like your overall Canvas navigation. And then you have your course navigation. So when I'm in a specific class, then I will have my course navigation. And that looks, that's this blue words here. So you can change what kids see and what they have access to. What I will suggest is the way that I have mine set up. You can see what things are hidden because there's an eye with a line through it. And that means kids won't see that on this navigation when they're logged in as a student. So right now, if I look as a student view, it pares it down a little bit because I had some things hidden. So you can see I went from a much longer list to a much shorter list. The way that you change that is you click on settings, come over here to navigation, the navigation tab, and on these three dots, you can decide, well, I want to disable that. I don't want them to access assignments that way. I don't want them to access discussions that way. I want them to see grades, not people. Really, we just want like grades, syllabus, Office 365. Everything that you disable moves down here and you save it.
Well, they don't see all those anyways, right? Because like grade sync, they wouldn't see that,
Some
right?
of them are just teacher things. Some of them are just teacher things. They don't see grade sync. But a lot of the other ones.
I had a question on the Office 365 one. Does that just take them to the Clever site?
No, it takes them to their OneDrive.
Oh, okay, the OneDrive.
Mm-hmm. So home, if we're looking at this menu, home is always going to take you to the home page of your course, which you can create a home page. You can have your home page be like your modules where it's like your weekly assignments, or you can have your syllabus. And you can change that at any time, what you're choosing your home to be. Announcements is where you would click as the teacher to create announcements. You don't have to have students have access to that if you set it up so that announcements show up here at the top. And I'll talk about that a little later, how you can get your announcements to show up at the top of your homepage.
That was my next question. What your recommendation was for them to drop in on the homepage with the modules or announcements?
So
But
I
you
would,
can put announcements on your homepage.
you can put announcements. I'll show you real quick because it's super fast. If you're in settings, and then you go to course details, down here is more options, and you can show recent announcements on the course homepage, and you can choose up to 15, which would be a bit much, I think. But if you put like your 3 or your 5 most recent announcements, then those are gonna show up. And I'll show you an example of one where I actually have an announcement in it. Those are going to show up now at the top of my homepage here under recent announcements. So they'll be able to see that an announcement has been put in. Assignments is where you can go to get to a list of assignments. I don't think this is a great thing to have visible to the kids, because if they're just looking at your list of assignments, it can be long and overwhelming if we're talking about a whole semester's worth of assignments. So I just assume they access their assignments only from the modules here and not from this menu. Discussions, same thing. I think if your discussions are posted in the modules, they don't need to have access to them from this menu because it's just going to take them to all the discussions you've ever created for the course.
So would discussion be your, like if you post notes or something, or?
A discussion is more like a way for students to respond to like a question. So if, for instance, you posted like a math equation and you wanted them to explain how to solve it in, 5 steps or something, they would respond, and I'll show you an example of a discussion later. They would respond and write in the 5 steps they needed to do to solve that math problem.
Now, quick question there, because the discussions, typically you have to have some ground rules, because you'll have kids that'll go in and harassment of other kids and things like that. Yeah. So is there something built into the program that has a disclaimer? It wouldn't be a disclaimer, or would we need to actually put something out there that has some basic rules for discussions? Yeah,
you have to put into, and you can create like a discussion template so you keep those same rules in every discussion that you post. But yes, I post parameters, remember this is an educational facility, right. You need to be respectful, right. No.
Just like internet rules, because they'll
Exactly.
kind of be able to do some of the same, crimes, if you like,
Yeah.
I've seen in discussions.
Mhm. And you as the teacher, unfortunately, it's not like some things, there's like Flipgrid, for instance, you can manage it in settings so that other students don't see the video until you've made it allowed. Discussions, they're automatically there when the kids post. There's no filter right now to keep it from being visible to students until allowed by teacher. But once you do go in there, you do have the ability to delete their post if you do see them doing something inappropriate. Grades is going to take you to your Canvas grade book. People is going to take you to a list of all the people enrolled in that course. And it's going to be where you can go if you want to add other people to the course. For instance, if you wanted to add a TA or you wanted to add another teacher so they could see your content. Pages, I would recommend using Pages as, I would recommend using Pages so that you have your content there. And what that means, and I'll show you some examples of Pages in a little bit, but you can post the reading, you can post videos, you can post links to other sites that you want them to use. I would use Pages to put your content, and then if you want them to do something with that content, then create an assignment based off of that content. If you click on files, it will take you to all the files you've ever uploaded into the course. If you need to edit something, like we all do as teachers, we kind of evaluate how something went and we're like, ooh, that didn't work, I need to add something, then you can edit a file and re-upload it. I, this past year, started embedding all my Office 365 assignments instead so that I wasn't having to constantly re-upload, because if I put my Office 365 work in there, if I fix it in my Office 365, it automatically fixes it in my Canvas because it's just the link to my assignment. So that's one recommendation I would make. If you are going to be putting a lot of documents and stuff, I would probably link them to your Office 365. The only warning I give you on that is to make sure that when you share the link to your Canvas course, you're allowing students to view it, not edit it, because then they have to download their own copy. Otherwise, if they're editing it and you give them rights to that, they're fixing they're changing your original. So make sure you just embed a copy to view, not a copy to edit.
Amanda.
Then you've got your option for a syllabus. So if you have your course syllabus, what your categories are, percentages, all that kind of stuff, expectations for the class, you can create one of those in Canvas as its own page. And then you can also make that your home page if you want students to see the syllabus as their first stop every time. Outcomes is a place where you can get to different grading rubrics, or if you create common grading rubrics for maybe common assignments like reading comprehension assignments or essays, then you can create rubrics there. We've got quizzes. That's where you'll click to get to create quizzes for your content. Modules is what you would click to get to the modules that you've created for your class. So if I clicked here on modules, then I'm going to see how my course is set up with week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on.
Back to the quizzes for a moment.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you create the quizzes there. Is there some connection to the modules? And I'm sorry if that's like a really silly question, but
No,
do you
it's
know what
fine.
I'm getting at?
When you're, and I will talk about it later too, but
Okay, then don't worry about it. If you're gonna go over it, I'm fine.
yeah, I will.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Collaborations, we can, conferences, we're most likely using Teams. and Zoom, whichever format you're comfortable with to teach your students in a distance learning format. Conferences is possible through Canvas, but I don't recommend it only because right now the recordings are only available for 14 days. So it makes more sense to use Teams, which automatically records and keeps it there in their team, or Zoom, where you can set up the recording and it doesn't delete after a certain amount of time. Collaborations would allow students to work together on assignments, but we can just set that up through Office 365 if we're wanting students to work together on group assignments. Office 365, as I said a little bit earlier, this takes you to your OneDrive. If students click on it, it takes them to their OneDrive. So Office 365 links to their OneDrive.
Do
And
you
then-
have a recommendation between Zoom before you move on and Teams with in terms of using it with Canvas? Do you have a recommendation?
Canvas has an integration with Teams where it's easy to create a meeting link.
Okay.
But I would say choose what you are most comfortable with, because there are easy ways to embed Zoom links too. So if you're more comfortable with one over the other, then do which one you're most comfortable with. And then GradeSync allows you to sync your grades from Canvas to Infinite Campus. And this is a big deal. It was a big deal for me when we finally got the district license version of Canvas to not have to keep 2 grade books. So we've gone over a lot about the menus. Do you guys have any questions on any of those menu elements? I know we'll be going into more detail on some of them in a bit.
Are you gonna go over the feature options under settings?
Let's see. Which ones? Down here at the bottom?
Yeah, I have it different. It's a tab on the top.
Okay, are you looking, you might be looking in the course feature options.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just curious because there's like a mastery path and things like that I'm not too sure about.
Yeah, mastery paths are very different. And I would hold off on mastery paths until you're comfortable with Canvas.
Okay.
Mastery paths make grading.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah,
Okay.
mastery paths make grading a little more difficult because, I mean, they're nice. I think in theory, it's where we should go. But it's like, if you score this much, then you go to this assignment. If you score this much, you go to this assignment, and so on. But then things don't sync with Infinite Campus if you're using mastery paths, because not every student is getting assigned the assignment. And that's the only way grades will sync over, is if every student is assigned the same assignments. So
Okay.
I keep them just the way they are automatically. I don't do anything special to mine. You can click this to post grades to your student information, but we kind of have that already set up. So I think if you click it, then it makes it an automatic when you're creating your assignments, that part is automatically checked off. But you can always disable that too.
So everything else you just keep off.
I do, yeah. I kind of just
Okay.
keep it the way it is for now. It
Okay.
has enough. Yeah, it doesn't that way.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Back to my PowerPoint here. Okay. So let's see, we've been on for about an hour. We'll go ahead and take a quick 3-minute break, been a little over an hour, and then we will come back at about 1:15. I already did this training once today, so my voice is a mess.
Amanda, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Oh, so with the videos, are we allowed to record students?
Like if you were wanting them to show you how they were solving a problem or something like that?
Well, for recording a video and they're on it.
I
You
think,
know, like
yeah, I
through-
think if it's remaining private and not posted publicly, I think you're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as
And
you
no names, like,
within a password protected, you might be better. You might be better recording it when you're in speaker view, and then that'll help a little bit. But we'll have all that kind of hammered out because that's sort of Brave New World.
yeah.
If you could have just set up a camcorder in your class before, we'd be like, "What are you doing, Art McMahon?" But no.
Okay, thanks.
Well, hey, Ryan, are you there?
I'm there, ecosystems, birds and stuff guy.
Well, for my assignment, what about kids exercising?
Yeah, it's fine because it's a media, that your submission type might be media uploads if they're gonna record something like on their phone and submit it in.
Or what if I'm using a Zoom meeting?
If you're showing them exercising.
Well, maybe I demonstrate it and then they do it.
Yeah.
I think you can just stay in that speaker view, so it's just you
Yeah.
being seen on the screen if you're recording.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
what I was.
I'd like to see the kids do it.
Then but you don't have to record the Zooms. That's just an
Yeah.
option. So if you wanted to make a short video showing the exercise, for instance, in studio for kids who maybe missed being online, so they knew what they were supposed to do. But then when you're on Zoom, you don't have to record the,
Right.
the
But
lesson.
if I'd like to see the kid do the exercise, I can do that.
Yeah. Then you
Okay.
can look at your gallery and you can see everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I had a quick question regarding Zoom. Do we want to make it, I didn't know, a lot of students towards the end last year had their screens go to blank so you couldn't see them at all, which I get that because maybe they don't feel comfortable with their home environment. But sometimes when you would call them, they wouldn't be present. So I didn't know if we were having any requirements on them when we're interacting, and whether via Zoom or Teams, that we actually see their video rather than a blank screen or something.
I don't think there's a requirement because then we're making an assumption that
Yeah.
they have like a camera and things like that. And in some cases, you're absolutely right. I think they might not want to see I know I don't want them to see the big pile of laundry behind me when I'm doing my training.
Yeah, we actually had that. I taught summer school and our summer camp, and we had that issue where a couple of kids were logged on way after the meeting. Me and another teacher had met. It turns out the kids just were not even present. They just left their computer, and they, early on in the actual course or class. So how do you know that they're actually there in front of the computer while you're teaching them?
Yeah, I would definitely say, like, you can implement things like, either their camera's on at the beginning and maybe you do another camera check partway through. If they don't have a camera, then they somehow have to interact, whether it's like through the hand raising, like show you that they're there, like everybody raise your hand right now, and then you can see everybody does it. So that you know that the students are actually present.
Well, this is what I did when I was teaching the summer class. I was using my tablet for my writing, and I had on my computer screen, I kept the chat window open. So when I would go through a problem, I'd ask a question to a student to see if they're responding, or I say type 1 if you're here, or something to that effect, just to keep accountability on them. And you could pretty much gauge on which students are there and which ones are not.
Yeah.
Okay.
And during summer school, I did also, and the cool thing was I said, if I call your name and I don't get a response, then you need to turn your camera on every day now. So that was kind of the deal, and it worked out. There was one gal who didn't have a camera, and she was texting me on my phone constantly. Like, you know what I mean? I'm here, and I would take sporadic role. Although I have to say summer school was great because it was a really small number of students. So just saying, it will be more challenging with more students.
Well, wouldn't everyone have a camera if they're having an iPad? And they log in through that way?
My student didn't have one, apparently.
Yeah, and it is going to be, if a student needs a device, and every student will get a device that needs a device. So yes, they should have access to the camera feature on the iPad.
So if that's the case, can we require the camera to be on during the meeting?
I don't think we can, because then it's getting into their home environment where I don't know if we're gonna be supported with that. I'm
Okay.
just thinking ahead, because that's,
There were teachers who wanted to do that, but you know what? When we're, I don't know about elementary is a different thing to me, but high school, I respect their privacy as long as they're acting with maturity and accountability. I promote that, and it has worked thus far, by the way.
All right,
Okay.
we'll go ahead and move
All right,
on.
thanks.
true story, Faith.
And Mr. Blake, I think I'll be able to answer your Office 365 question later when I talk more about that. So if I don't, when I get to that part, then just let me know. All right. All right, so just to reiterate, although we talked about it a little bit at the beginning, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8:30 to 12:30, you'll be given 4 hours each day to work with a content / Canvas pro or someone who has a lot of experience with it, so that you can collaborate if you're working on the same grade level, or at least, you know, bounce off ideas about how to build your content, how the different platforms we use, like Pearson. A lot of Pearson information will embed for English. We can kind of have a workaround for McGraw-Hill with the social science. And how we can, you know, utilize Canvas and Clever to get to the McGraw-Hill. So you'll be working with people who have some experience with that for the last year or 2 years using Canvas, and kind of have seen the growing pains and worked around some of the things. So definitely, if you are able to, please come to those hours. Attendance will be taken at those, so that, you know, you can get paid if you are in attendance for those hours. If you already have started building content, so many of you have shared that you've been working for, you know, since we've been off, like trying to get stuff uploaded. Please share, and, you know, share out your ideas and how you've been embedding. And then our goal is obviously to have at least, and I say at least because the more you can have, the better, but at least 3 weeks before we get started with the school year, so that you're getting off where you feel like you don't have the pressure of, I got to get stuff planned for tomorrow and I got to get it on there. So if we can go in with at least 3 weeks, then for those first 8 weeks of the school year, so for the first 2 months, you will be getting an 1.5 hour weekly meeting with that same content area expert to continue adding to and building your classes, so that hopefully by the time we get to that halfway point at the semester, you feel really comfortable and confident with building your content. And then for those last 10 weeks of the semester, there will be a 1 hour help desk available every day to just troubleshoot any questions you might have. So that might be a content specific question, in which case you might need to wait until your content specific person is available. We're going to rotate through at the secondary. So like Monday will be math, and Tuesday will be English, and Wednesday will be science, and Thursday will be history. But any one of us will be able to answer general questions about Canvas. But if you have a content specific question, by that time, I feel like you'll have a pretty good working relationship with the person you've been working with for these first 8 weeks, and 9 weeks, including this week. So you can shoot them an email if it's content specific, but you know, we'll create a 1 hour meeting time every day where you can just pop in and ask questions.
Amanda, I'm sorry. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
I'm obviously from Canyon Lake, you know that. And we had a Zoom this morning, and the teachers there brought up, is there going to be like a district little, and maybe, I don't know if Ryan's still on, but like district little videos for the students for using Canvas, like a 2-minute, you know, how to upload this, 2 minutes for, you know, how to access this video, you know, like little training videos for the kids, because, you know, we're concerned that some of the kids might be familiar with it, but many of them will not be. And so the question was posed, is the district doing anything to maybe create things that will be on the district website, and then things that we can actually put into our courses as well? Or is that up to us to actually like create all those for the kids?
I think we can put something like that together because Canvas already has all those little videos created. We just need to pull the ones that, you know,
Yeah.
are
Like
gonna
the
be
basic
the big
necessary.
important ones that we can either put onto the website or put into, you know, something that we send out to Parent Square or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be, that has all those like logging in, submitting an assignment, you know, those kinds of big deal ones.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll have like a basic troubleshooting, but then I think what we would do is really push them to use that. Because if we can get them to log in, then they can access the little help icon that has an infinite amount of more support with like live chat and the phone number and everything else. Really to get them into Canvas, and then everything else sort of follows through. So yeah, that little help feature, which if you guys don't know that, that's like a lifesaver. You can go on the chat and like ask them a specific question. They'll work through like a Nearpod issue or anything else. They have the guides and things. The
This
phone
has-
call's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then all the little big ones, but because really it comes down to like maybe 4 or 5 things. How do I get to Canvas? What do I do if I don't have an account or whatever?
So here, Lindsay, like in the video guides. So if I went to Canvas guides and then they have video guides, this is all student-centered stuff.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we could watch through those and see which ones are going to be the most important for them to know how to do, and we can put those together.
Okay. That's
But you could embed that in onto your page or your assignment, right?
Absolutely, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. As a reminder, or you could even video yourself doing it real quick too. Like, just remember, this is what you do. So yeah, both of those would be options as well.
Like, hey, boys and girls, don't forget that immersive reader up in the corner.
That's right.
Levinsky's been into a Mulvaney training.
Hey, Amanda, sorry about this real quick. On those Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday trainings, can we like join in those at any time, or we?
It depends on how much you want to get paid, Paul. You're being paid for 4 hours every day, so you should be in there for the 4 hours every day. The people will be putting attendance down and what time you're there. So just
Yeah.
if you're not going to go for the full time, then just make sure they document the amount of time you are there.
Okay. All right. Just last thing, is Chantel one of those people?
No, they're the KMA people, but I would definitely, if you've got some pull with Chantel, then
Yeah.
ask her to join in.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question about logging in. Will students all be able to log in, or we're going to have to talk to them, call them, and kind of teach them how to even log in?
Students will all be able to log in, but we will have to put something together to prompt them to do that the first day, most likely.
Okay.
All right, so once you guys have made your course, and that means you've got that little square there, then what do we do? So once you guys are there, then you are going to go ahead and you are going to add modules into your course. The way that you do that is by clicking this blue add module. I like Canvas because everything is a plus sign. Like it really tries to keep it, visually like simple for us. So I would take the next few days that you guys are working on creating your content to really figure out how best to organize the content. Whether that's going to be, you're going to have a week 1 module, week 2 module, week 3 module, or are you doing, chapter 1 is, Earth systems, and chapter 2 is the next Earth science chapter. So you can break it up by units, you can break it up by chapters, or you can break it up by weeks.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When we have the, oh my gosh, let me go back here just a quick second. The kids discovery on that, will we be getting the full subscription to that, or are we just going to be having, because they have some videos and stuff in there that I would want to use, but if the subscription runs out, or, you know, will we be able to have that at our hands?
Are you
For
talking
social
about a
stu-
specific program? Sorry, Jim.
Yeah, that's on the Clever.
Hmm.
When you look under, it's the Discovery for kids. But they have a lot of social studies stuffs in there about like pyramids and Egypt stuff and all
Yeah,
sorts of
so
stuff.
We'll be able to link your Clever accounts in, or the kids can access their Clever if we put a link in here to get them to Clever. Or if when you open that video, if it allows you to embed, then you can embed the videos. It just depends on what the capabilities are at that point.
I know because it says like an online class, and it
Mhm.
gives you like a number where they can log into that, but it's only good for 30 days. And then all the videos that you wanted are locked up.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that's why I was wondering if we get the full subscription so we could have it for the year to add to our content.
Well, that was Discovery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
we'll have to look into that. I don't know.
okay.
All right, so this would be a module here, and this is just the grade title. So again, it could be week 1, it could be chapter 1, it could be unit 1, whatever, however you decide to organize it. We are looking into purchasing a template for the secondary folks, so that templates are nice in the sense that kind of has a bunch of stuff already embedded. It's got images and stuff that you can pull from. And the one that we looked at had these titles here: discover, discuss, demonstrate, and deepen. So if those are the things we want to do throughout the week with them for this first particular topic, then I would put the information under each one of those headers, those text headers of our, okay, we're discovering the stuff that's going to go with this story. We're discussing this story. You're demonstrating your knowledge, and then you're deepening your understanding. So you can break it up that way. And then one nice thing is if you create a template module, which I highly recommend doing, and that would just be like, let's say we had week 1 and the only thing we had written was the discover, discuss, demonstrate, deepen, then you can easily duplicate the module and it adds it right to the bottom there. You just need to change the title here by clicking edit. So you would change that to week 2. And then you still have your discover, discuss, demonstrate, deepen. Now, because this wasn't a template module, this actually had all this stuff in it, then it copied all that stuff too, which I don't want. So don't worry about that. But
Amanda, would that be useful if you had your links to your live session through Teams or Zoom?
that would be so helpful here. Yeah. Here
Clear that
we
one up for you.
have your daily Zoom links. So for instance, if you are, if we go to like having kind of this period day or whatever the case may be, you can create a page that's got buttons here, and I'll show you how I did that really quickly. I just went to button creator, online free. And you can just type whatever text you want here, 8 a.m. Zoom. And it's going to change it here. I can change my shape. I can change my color. Okay, and then you download that. You upload, after you have it downloaded, and then you can upload it into your, show you real quickly. You can upload images. So then you can upload any images from your computer that, so I made all these buttons the other day, and so I was able to upload those. Then now it's in my course. Now I have this page created. If I create a recurring link for Zoom, then that recurring link will be here on my 8 a.m. class, and this recurring link can be here on my 9 a.m. class. If I highlight that, I can link, I can just type in the link over here or copy and paste the link in over here. And now it's not only an image, but it's also a link for the kids to get to that Zoom. So if that's already created in your template course and you're doing those as repeating, sessions every day, then you're never having to make new Zoom links, and it makes your life a little bit easier.
I noticed your button didn't change the picture when you created the link. That was a problem we had before.
It's still loading is the problem.
Okay, because no, there was a problem with the image because it was doing that. It was a glitch, and I called Canvas, and they had to look into fixing it.
Yeah, something can't. I don't know. It's like I think my computer's tired. It's just.
Oh, there it goes. It looks like it's working now.
Yeah, my Canvas loading thing is still going. So again, you can create as many modules as you want in whatever order you want, whether it's weekly or by unit or by chapter. Just want to maintain some level of consistency so your kids don't log in and then they're like, wait, what? This is totally different. So once you have your modules, then that's where, as we were talking about earlier, you can add all those different elements, whatever you want, into your modules. So I'm here, and then this is the point. I can add assignments, I can add quizzes, I can add files, I can add a page, I can add a discussion. The text header is going to just be those things that kind of delineate, like the discover, discuss, or if we want to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you can add in an external URL, or you can add an external tool. This might be helpful for those of you who want to incorporate CK12 lessons, or if you want to incorporate Play-Doh. These things are all available for you to pull content from.
I noticed when that list had Khan Academy, because I know there was a couple of teachers that were asking me about that, if it could be integrated.
Video.
And they were told it wasn't able to, and I just saw there was a Khan Academy external link there.
The videos can integrate, but not the practice. You can link them to Khan Academy through their Clever. But for instance, here, I integrated just the Khan Academy videos by choosing that external tool, but it won't take like the practice.
And I had students, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but talking about that, because when you did summer school, we had some assignments that were put on there that were ad minimum, and some students were having issues with the going through the exercises and progressing through the pages. Any recommendations on what that could be? Why that? Because I couldn't get it figured out for them.
Sorry, can you repeat it, Lonnie? I was reading.
Yeah, like when the students, we had some courses that were, or some of our modules had Edmentum exercises in them, and some of the students were having, a few students had issues with like advancing the pages or something like that. When you scroll through the pages of the assignments and the videos and all that. Is there a reason? Do you know a reason why that could be? Is it because they're using the wrong browser? Because I think I had them try different browsers.
It could definitely be a browser issue. I think that, I feel like, is sometimes the thing I run into the most often, is just making sure students are using Chrome. It seems to be the most friendly. Or it may be their settings in the browser. So yeah, those are two things I would definitely look at. All right, Lonnie, your question about the Zoom, the district is working to purchase a license. They're working with Zoom right now. All right, so what goes in Pages? You can use Pages to house like your curriculum, essentially, like the text, whether it might be a story or it might be your math notes or something like that. You can use it to put and embed videos, links to information or documents that don't need to be turned in. So Pages is almost like, I would use Pages as like your textbook, essentially, and then keep that separate from your assignments, which are the things that have to be turned in. So you can also create pages for your weekly schedule. You can put your links for your direct instruction. You can create it to organize your weekly content. And as we said, boys and girls, right up there is the immersive reader function. That is nice because when you're on that page, if you have them, the kids want to click immersive reader, it will read anything in this page to them that is written words. To that end, make sure that if you are embedding images, like if I click that there, for instance, this says parts of speech banner. You don't want it to say it's like the link to like https:// blah, blah, blah. So you want to change it to an alternative text if it is like a link or something. So just to show you a couple of those examples. So I showed you the meeting links page previously. So Zoom links for this week. My computer is so tired, you guys.
I just gotta make a recommendation to you in posting the picture, those pictures. If you're gonna do that, a lot of times, like if students go on their phone and do it, it all gets jumbled around.
Yeah.
Because of the screen size. If you want to avoid that, there's a way of doing that by make sure you put your pictures in a table and set it for percent to be like, you want it to be like 90% of the page or something to that effect. That way it'll kind of keep that from jumbling around on you.
Yeah, that's a great option. So you can use it to create or have your curriculum. So if I were to read The Necklace, let's say that's our first week story, I would want maybe the kids to watch each video below, and then after answering or after viewing each video, I want them to go to this assignment. So even in my pages, I'm able to link assignments. I'm able to link to quizzes. So you can link to things within your course just in pages. If you don't want, and like, why would I do that? Well, if you don't want this to end up being a long list of assignments, right? Like, let's say this is unit 1 and you've just got all those assignments, you can link your assignments into your pages pretty quickly, and it's not too hard. Let me just show you how you would do that. So I could say here, I wanted to link to something in my course. I can link to assignments. And then maybe I choose noun practice. Now my noun practice assignment is linked there and they can get to it if they wanted to. So that's a content page. And then another option would be if you wanted to just create a weekly schedule page. So I didn't do this for secondary, but I had one already made for elementary. So if they're doing like their science week 1, why do birds have beaks? And we wanted to break down what they're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I could tell them all the things I want them to do each day for that specific subject. And I can link in my worksheets. I can link in any like video links. I can embed videos here. And
Amanda?
Yeah.
With that, what you're doing right there with the links and everything, are you specifically saying you can only do Mondays on Mondays and Tuesdays? A kid can't go in there and do Fridays or Wednesdays and pick and choose, can they?
It depends on how you have the assignment set up. So for instance, if I'm looking at assignments and I have here video notes, you can make it so that they can't see the assignment until Tuesday, and then it's available until, like, let's say we're gonna say we won't take it after Friday or something. So here's the due date, but I don't want you to see it until the 22nd, and then I'm gonna lock it on the 31st. So that's an option. If you don't want them to see Tuesday's assignment until Tuesday, then put an available from on there.
Okay.
The link would still be there, but it just wouldn't let them actually go into the assignment. Okay. So you can also add assignments. You can create assignments in a couple of different ways. So if you are in your module, you can come right here, click new assignment, practice assignment 2. I'm gonna add it and it's gonna go straight here to the bottom of my module, and then from there I can edit it. You would click edit, and then you get almost like your Word document functionality, your size font, whether you want it to be like a heading or a little smaller, you can change kind of what it looks like. Bold, italicized, underlined, changing the font color, highlighting, having subscript and superscript. Your formatting, is it left justified, center, right justified, bullets. Here again, you can you can embed external links, or you can embed to other course links, images. If you wanted to record yourself a little video saying something, if you wanted to upload a document or a file. And then here you can also embed your own studio videos and Khan Academy videos. So that's how I did that. That's how I put those Khan Academy videos in. So I'll just show you that really quickly. Let's say it's an econ lesson and we're doing macro. And I want to embed that. Then it's there. You can do the same thing if you want to embed YouTube videos and stuff like that. Again, 2 ways. You can just put this YouTube video into your studio, or you can just, whoops, not that one, sorry. Upload or record media, you can embed, and you can get the embed code from YouTube very easily.
As we transition.
So if I hit share, click embed, it gives me all this right here, and I just copy it and paste that in, and then it's there. So
Amanda,
yeah.
if you were to embed, say, that Khan Academy piece, and it's a 5-minute clip from Khan, which is really normal, what would you want the student to do to demonstrate that they have in fact watched it and maybe learned something from it?
So I would definitely, you can either post some kind of discussion, but I think another, or, you know, have them respond to some question now that they've watched it. But really, I think the best thing you can do with, if we are using videos that we want to ensure they're watching, is to embed them into your studio. And then you can create quizzes in those studio videos. So for instance, if I wanted to copy and paste this URL here into Studio. Sorry, I have this thing up at the top from Zoom that doesn't go away. I can copy and paste that there, and I can add it. And now the irony video's here, and I can create, oops. Now I can create a quiz in here.
Yeah, but is that going to grade automatically and go in the grade book, Amanda?
Yes, yes it is. Sorry, I gotta be in studio.
Bill.
All right, so here we're in studio, and now I can create, why isn't it working, Ryan? Worked earlier. There it is, create quiz. So you can create the quiz then. You can title it.
Transition from childhood into adulthood.
Okay. So irony quiz. You can hide the question markers. That means kids won't know where the questions are. So I would suggest that just so they're not like trying to push through. And then you can decide like, I want to add a question here, right? And then you can ask a multiple choice, true, false, or multiple answer. So let me just show you one of my classes, what that looks like. How you can know if like someone took the quiz. So when I look at that orientation quiz, for instance, as a teacher, I have insights. So I can see who watched it by clicking on their name, and then I see they watched it. Clicking on their name, I see they watched it. Clicking on their name, you watched bits and pieces of it, right? Not the whole thing. And then I also have quiz results. So you can get a full, like, kind of average of your class, but you can also click on specific students, see how many times they took it, and what they answered.
Where is all that again?
This is if you create quizzes in Studio.
And then they show you all this?
Once you've embedded it as a quiz into your course, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So these are any video that you can like get off the YouTube, you put it in Studio first.
Yep.
Okay.
And then
Thank
you
you.
can just make your quizzes by clicking on these 3 dots. Once
Can
you,
you
I made a quiz, irony quiz, I can even add a quiz. I can do different quizzes. If I have like a regular chemistry and an honors chemistry, I can make a regular chemistry quiz and an honors chemistry quiz. And the video would ask them the different questions depending on which quiz you chose.
And that goes into your speed grader, right?
And yes, it's automatically graded and goes into your speed grader.
Can you limit the number of attempts? Just like a regular quiz?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Question, I created mine in the template and all I get when I hit the 3 dots is a delete media. What's up with that? Do you know?
Are you over here in this blue studio or?
I'm under courses and then I went to studio under courses.
Yeah, do it in this on the left where it says studio, because then
Right.
that's your general studio where you can create your quizzes and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, there we go. Yeah, now the options show up. That's weird. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know why. I noticed that too when I first showed it. I was like, wait, where is it?
Yeah, all right, cool.
All right. So again, we kind of got off there on the studio, but clicking new assignment, you can create your assignment, you can embed videos, you can embed studio, quizzes, and those kinds of things. So we talked about editing, and then, so if you are here at the different assignments, you want to kind of have your directions. I have a link. Again, this would take them to my Office 365 document that they would read the story and then answer the questions as they're going. I also like to, if I can, I mean, just coming from an English background, like I try to put the audio in there because I do have so many students who are like, I just hate to read so much. Then I try to put as much as I can in there to help support them in getting through the assignment. When they're ready and they want to turn it in, then they would hit submit assignment, and the way they see that, we'll talk about it again a little bit later, but if we're doing this assignment, they've got this blue submit assignment button. If they select it, they've got their Office 365 and they can just embed the assignment that they did there, or link it. Your other options when you're in your assignments is you can choose how many points it's worth, what category it's in, and how it's going to be graded. You're going to select what options you're giving the students for uploading their files. If they're media, like I know that Janet was saying, you know, she wants students to sign, so she can do media and they can sign their response or whatever it is that she's asking them to do. You can do plagiarism review, especially if we're talking about essays for our various subjects through Turnitin, and it links to the 100,000 different online sites and essays that have been written by people around the world. And it gives the students a red or a yellow or a green or a red, orange, green. It's one of those. And students can see it right away. So they'll know like, oh, that's maybe something I should read too. I got a red. Due dates required if you want to sync with Infinite Campus. So you have to have a due date in there if you're syncing. And then you can, like we said, lock assignment dates so that they won't be able to turn something in after a certain point in time. And then you can also decide which students must complete the assignment. So maybe it's an assignment that you only want a handful of kids to do because it's like maybe a remediation assignment. Then you can also assign it to just a few students. The next thing I would suggest for you guys is understanding how to create your groups, your grading groups. So if in your class you have, or your course, you have classwork, homework, tests and quizzes, labs, and participation, and you want to break those up into each of your different categories, then you easily do that there in the assignments view, right here in groups. So I might have classwork, whoops. And now that creates a group at the bottom of my page there, and I can drag these assignments, or I can create discussions, and that might be my participation. And then once you've done that, you can assign group weights. So I might want my assignments to be worth 50%, my classwork, my discussion. So here's where you're deciding your totals, and these percentages should match up with your categories in Infinite Campus, so that if kids are looking at Canvas for a grade or they're looking at Infinite Campus for a grade, they're seeing the same grade. Okay, questions on modules, pages, assignments, and grouping?
I'm curious, when we sync the assignment to Infinite Campus, will it show up as the same title, and where will it be put? That kind of thing. Like, how does it sync?
I'm gonna, I have a whole section on grade syncing a little bit later.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Amanda, it's
Mhm.
Maria.
Hey.
I have a question. How long do you recommend we should leave those assignments open for students to complete?
I
Because,
think we gave them till the end of the following week.
and okay, so about a week or
Yeah.
2 weeks, right?
Yeah, it's about, ends up being about 2 weeks or so, yeah.
Okay. And then do you know if we're gonna do quarter or semester grading?
I think we're grading, I think we're gonna have to, well, so the way that the grading will be working is you're grading all the kids in Spanish from all the school sites. So we're gonna have to go based off of what a majority of schools are doing. So I know that KMA was doing quarters, but we'll probably have to switch that over to.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions on these topics before we move on?
Can you show us how to do the import stuff from Khan Academy again real quick, please? I missed that.
Sure. So depending on what you want, if you're wanting to create those quizzes in the Khan Academy, then I would definitely import those into Studio. But if you're just wanting to create, let's say, a content page, and I'm gonna do econ Khan videos. Then right here in this little plug,
Okay.
that links you to external tools, and Khan Academy is one of those choices.
All right.
So you click it, and then you find the video you want just by going through the folders. And then from there, you can embed, and it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Amanda, I have a quick question.
Mhm.
On the Infinite Campus categories, do we set those up on Infinite Campus like we always have, as well as Canvas?
Yes, you have to do, you
Okay.
have to create the categories in Infinite Campus in order for the assignments to originally sync over.
Okay, so we'll just make them twice and make them the same.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Amanda,
I have a quick
back
question,
to-
Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
So is the kids that are signed up for the 100% virtual online, is it a whole year commitment or a semester? And the reason why I'm asking is because for English, let's just say, you know, some teachers do something second semester, some do first semester. So if the kids were to go back to school, let's say in January, if everything opens back up, they may have already had content from the 100%. Is there something that we're going to get that says do these things for semester, but you know, with our own content, or how's that working?
So it's, they're signed up right now, or they're committed right now for first semester. And they will be allowed to go back at second semester if that's what they're comfortable with doing. But I mean, I think the idea is that this is probably most likely a one-year thing for most people.
So
But they can change back. So what I would recommend is maybe working with your high school department, and I know everybody's different, but maybe reaching out to like the English department chairs to see if we can maybe solidify some things that are specific to first semester and second semester.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, couple more things that you're able to create here into your modules. You can create online discussions. Again, same kind of steps. Click the plus when you're in the module title, and then this time you would choose discussion. You'll notice that the different icons, depending on what it is, an assignment is like a sheet of paper with a pencil, a discussion is like a little speech bubble, quizzes are little rocket ships. So depending on what it is that you're creating, it will have a different icon in front of it. I like discussions because it's a good way to introduce a topic. You can check for understanding that way, and it's also a way to get students to interact with each other. But as was mentioned earlier, you definitely want to put some norms in there for what a discussion is and how we respond to peers and things like that. You post when you edit, just like you do with your assignments. You're going to post your topic, and then when students are ready to respond, they would just click that reply. So many times, I have students type their response right here where it says search entries or author, and then they're like, I did it, and it's not there, and it's because they typed in there, and then they didn't hit that reply. So when they hit that reply, an actual text box will pop up below it. So here's an example about being popular and what they're doing to be popular. I like to put these little just like GIFs in just to make it a little more entertaining for the kids. But I tell them, you know, I pose the question, I tell them my expectations. You can add in here like your, you know, etiquette, online etiquette, and those kinds of things. So students would hit reply, and then they get the text box, and then they post reply. I like to choose to allow threaded replies because I do want students to respond to one another. Remember, part of what we're offering to students is not just direct live instruction, but also interaction with peers, and this is one way to do it. I always choose users must post before seeing replies because I want their original thought. I will warn you that it is possible for a student to do this. They hit reply, they type nothing, and they hit post reply, and then they see everybody's responses. It does take them a couple times to figure that out. But if they are feeling particularly lazy, they are able to do that, and then they are able to see everybody else's responses before they type their own. So
does
that's
the system, Amanda, does the system recognize that they just copied, you know, their friend's answer, or not?
No, it doesn't. And that's when they realize, oh man, she really does read everything because I call them out on it. But no, it doesn't recognize that. And that's one of the reasons, I think if I was still going to be teaching this year, I would probably utilize Flipgrid a little bit more as just a quick kind of way to post their thoughts because they can't see everybody else's. Theirs aren't visible to the other students until I see them, or that's something you can set up in your settings. So it just depends on what you're really trying to get them to do with it. One thing is, so if it's graded, then it does the whole due date thing. But if you're just doing like a check for understanding or like a daily check-in or something, like how are you feeling today? And you didn't want to grade it, but you wanted to make sure they did it, you can just click this add to student to do, and it would add it to their to-do list, even though it's not actually a graded assignment. And then, as I mentioned earlier, that we were going to talk more about quizzes. So when you're in quizzes on that left-hand side, there's a difference between adding a quiz like this. Oops. Here, if I choose quiz, if there's a difference between adding a quiz like this, there's nothing wrong with this one other than the fact that that's using the old quizzes system. If you're over here, then you're using the new quizzes system. When you click here on the new quizzes system and you want to create a new quiz, remember it's always the plus, plus, plus. You have the choice then to use the classic quizzes or the new quizzes. New quizzes has a little more functionality as far as types of questions you can answer. And new quizzes is going to be kind of the format going forward. This classic quizzes will go away eventually.
I also noticed on I think it's the new quizzes, that they don't have a sync button. It automatically syncs to IC and doesn't ask for a due date or anything, or a time to say like end it.
Oh, okay, I haven't done too much with the quizzes, but I can take a look at that. But yeah, it has. I mean, I think that it's a little more streamlined than new quizzes is. So that's how you do that. You would choose, if you have started, like if you've started building content and you're like, oh man, I was using classic quizzes, there is a way to embed your classic quizzes into new quizzes. So the quiz builder walks you through step by step. You create your title, your instructions, and then again, that blue plus each time is gonna lead you to putting a new answer or a new type of question in there. So every time you hit that blue plus, all those question types pop up. So categorization would be like, you know, let's say you're doing character traits and you want to apply them to do different characters. You might put the character names up at the top and then they have to drag the trait below each character that they think has that trait. File upload would be the students uploading a file. So let's say, for instance, you just gave them a file, like that was a quiz that they printed off, and then they could upload that file either by a picture or scan that in. Formula will be used for your math Matching will give them, let's say I put a bunch of words on the left-hand side and then they had to decide if it was a noun, verb, adjective, adverb, then they would have a drop down to match. You've got your multiple choice, ordering like first, second, third, sequence, essay. So a lot of these can be self-graded by the program. Essay would be something that is graded by the teacher. Fill in the blank. So you would put the sentence and you would leave the blanks where you want them. There are ways that you put the word in there, but let's be real, like kids don't capitalize sometimes, they spell things wrong sometimes. So there is a way for you to accept like a certain level of wrongness of the answer while still marking it correct. Hotspot, if we were doing something like identifying parts of the body and we wanted to like identify where the bicep was, then you might have a person form there and then you can create a hotspot on the area that would be the bicep. Multiple answer, so choose all that apply essentially. Numeric, again, some of your mathematical ones, and then true, false. Stimulus is the other question type, and that's where you might give them like a reading passage and then ask them questions based off of that reading passage.
Amanda, if you're doing a math quiz and you wanted them to upload like their sheet of work, would you do a quiz like under formula first and then a separate quiz where it's file upload?
I might make it like my last question or something. You know, like they've got all their questions answered 1 through 5, and then your last question is, please upload your work that shows that you worked out these problems.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me, Amanda, I need to take my daughter to the doctor's. I'm using my phone for the meeting.
Okay.
So if I could be allowed on with the phone account, please.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome. When you're in quizzes, you have various settings that you can choose. So if we're talking about best practice ideas, if we're in the classroom, to avoid cheating, I would say shuffle your answers, shuffle your questions. So if students are sitting next to one another, then they're not having the exact same questions at the same time. Being away, like being distance learning, I'm not sure that that's going to be as much of an issue. One question at a time allows the students to see the instructions at the top of every question. So the nice thing about that option is when I'm in my quiz here, I have my instructions. If I am letting them see the entire quiz, they have the instructions one time and then they're going through and taking the quiz in its entirety. If I allow one question at a time, it has the instructions at the top. Now, for choosing the noun found in each sentence, that's not that big a deal. But if you're doing like a physics quiz where you want them to be able to have access to formulas or something like that in your instructions, then it's nice to see the one question at a time so that they have those instructions above every single question so they can see those formulas. When you choose one question at a time, it is going to have you choose whether you allow them to backtrack or not. That's really a personal decision for you, but my husband, as a master's student in biology, he hated it when his professors wouldn't allow him to go back because there would be times like that an upcoming question reminds you of something from before and he wouldn't have been able to go back. So that's, again, a personal choice, but we have to kind of think about, you know, our students and understanding how their brains work. Access codes allow you to allow the students to open the test once you've released the code to them. So let's say, for instance, you're on your Zoom and you want them to take the quiz. They'd all get logged in, you'd give out the code, and then they would be able to access the quiz. If you wanted to change that code then for the next period of students, so those kids couldn't like, you know, message that out and be like, hey, here's the code for you to take the quiz, then you can change the code right away once those kids are in for the first
Question.
Yeah.
Let's say you have, and there's two different styles here, a quiz from the book that you're doing, but you shot a picture of it on Microsoft Office Lens. Can this go use it through this?
So are you uploading a file, like a view of your quiz?
Yeah.
Yes, there is a way to link your course files in here so that you should be able to, they should be able to see it.
And then when they see it, because you shot it through Microsoft Office Lens, do they have to go through Microsoft Office Lens to edit it themselves?
I'd have to work with that a little bit. I'm not sure on that one.
Okay.
If you're math, you can allow the calculator. You can also allow calculator on certain questions. When you're creating the questions, you can choose to allow calculator, but if you just want it in general allowed, you can choose that. You can allow as many attempts as you want. The nice thing about that is you can also put a time lapse between attempts. So not that they're going in and then going in and then going in. Like you can make it like you have to wait an hour before you can take it again. Maybe that would encourage them to go back and study, or, you know, hopefully. And then restrict student results view. So that's gonna allow you the opportunity to say, do I let them know just which ones they missed? Do I let them know which ones they missed and it tells them the right answer? So you can decide how you want them to get their feedback. Once you've created your quiz here, again, you're just adding all of those buttons. One thing I would recommend doing is creating item banks for your questions. And this is going to allow that kind of collaboration piece with the other people like in your department or who might be teaching the same grade level as you and the same subject as you. You can share those. So if, for instance, I created this parts of speech nouns, every question I put in here, I added into this bank. So now this bank has 17 questions. If I wanted to share this with the other English teachers, I can just start typing in their names and it should come up here, and then I would be able to share that. The other nice thing then also is, like, let's say 1 week I'm doing a quiz on nouns and then I'm doing a quiz on adjectives, and we get to the end of the month and I want to do kind of a review quiz. Now I have these banks created and it's really easy to just add items from a bank and you don't have to recreate these questions. When you're done answering or adding all your questions in, you can preview and see what it looks like for the kids then. So this, for instance, would be a matching. And so you can see the drop down. And then you hit next. And then they have to choose and so on. Testing security has been asked about, and that's something that still needs to be discussed with the district. There are different LTIs we can embed or different secure browsers, but it's a financial commitment, so it needs to be researched and discussed about what we'll do if we're wanting to do that, or if we can implement something like that. But working in independent study and having this issue be something that has been the case for many years, we do a lot more project-based learning to show the results of or their understanding. You could also attempt to test during your Zoom sessions so you can kind of monitor their eyes and make sure they're not like holding their phones up and taking screenshots and stuff like that. Okay, questions on discussions and quizzes? Awesome. I'm going to let you guys take another quick 5-minute break, and then we'll come back at about 2:20.
Amanda, I actually have a question about, excuse me, when did you say it would be a good time to use the student codes for the quiz?
Well, that will keep it locked until you're ready for them to take it. So I would create student code, or I would create access codes for the quizzes if you're not wanting them to just be able to go in and take it whenever they want to. So let's say you wanted them to wait until like Tuesday, right? Then you could send a message out with the code on Tuesday, and then everyone would be able to access it. Or if you wanted them to take it while they're in the Zoom with you, then you could create the code, give it out in the Zoom, and then they'd all be able to log into the quiz and take it right then and there.
Okay, and that increases the security for the next class, you said, or?
Well, what
how
I
does
would
that-
do then, as soon as you get everybody logged in, then change the code so that the next period's class is going to have to get a different code. And that's so those like first period kids can't text out to their buddies, hey, here's the code. So they can't get in early, essentially.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Amanda, and maybe you'll talk about this later or something. I have some PDFs that I want the kids to work on. Like I have a whole bunch of DOL stuff. That it's one big file, but how would I break that up? Like I only want to do week 1, Monday through Friday, week 2, and I have it already set up in my accounts right now as week 1, week 2, week 3, and the grading of 25 points and all that kind of stuff. And when it's open, how do we, once we do this virtual online, is there like a PDF converter to Microsoft, or is that just something that you give them the file and then I don't know. See, that's one of those things I'm like kind of stuck on.
One thing you can look at is ilovepdf.com. And that might have a converter or something you can do with those. There's also something called Kami.
But I mean, as far as the virtual school goes, they don't have access to like Adobe Pro that everyone gets that doesn't.
Not right now. I don't know if that's going to be a thing that will get sorted out or figured. But right now we don't have that.
Because a lot of them will only let you do like 1 or 2 to convert it. And then it says, okay, you got your limit. Now it costs $12.99 a month.
Yeah.
And if you want the rest of your big old file that you couldn't get to, you have to pay us.
Yeah.
Or stuff like that.
So I think one thing to consider is, well, number one, everybody's distance for now, right?
Right.
But even though we're like kind of the virtual teachers and we're going to have these virtual students, we're not a separate school, right? We're servicing all the schools. And so I know some of the schools have adopted or bought licenses for the converters. So I would maybe reach out and see if your school that you are from has any plans to do that.
Okay. You know, when we talk about programs like the Discovery, like I was talking, that's on Clever.
Yeah.
IXL is another one. Are we going to get the full subscription of IXL?
I haven't heard any plans for that, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. I just don't know I don't know what some of the programs the district might be entertaining adopting right now. Just, finding, seeing what they are.
I was going to say, I know that's a little bit better for my kids because it can go down to kindergarten and move all the way through the different contents and different levels. And then you can pick and choose and maybe even attach it to the Canvas.
Yeah.
But again, you only get 10 questions for the whole day.
Exactly.
it's kind of weird that, you know, yes, we have these freebies, but, you know, if that's what we need to be able to do our classes that way, especially special ed, since,
Yeah.
you know, you might have a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader at a 1st grade level.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you're not trying to recreate every math, you know, oh, I have to do all the math lessons now to put it on here, even though I have everything at school. It's different. Can't
Yeah.
go back to school. So,
Right. I understand.
you know, base 10 blocks. Well, I know there's some programs that have base 10 blocks on it, but you have to set up again, lesson, and then have your work that goes with it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. Just
Amanda, to clarify, you said we're still with our site. So our site funds would be the ones that would do IXL and, like you said, the PDF converters program.
Yes.
Okay.
Just smile and tell them it's going to help all kids.
Amanda, I had a question.
Yeah.
I always make my interactive notebooks for my students, and I have a modified set for those who require accommodations, and I give them to the students. They do all their homework and everything in there, and they're linked through Big Ideas. I put a hold on mine because they were going to go for my students that I normally have, but is there a way to get materials to our students when the time comes?
I think it's to be determined.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Sorry, I know sometimes I don't have as many answers.
No, that's fine. I'm just trying to plan because otherwise they'd have to use the PDF converter, and I'm trying to figure that out. Okay.
All right, so we talked quickly at the beginning about publishing your course. So again, you can just do that from your dashboard. You can click that little publish box when you are on your dashboard, if you're in your unpublished courses, or if you're in it and you wanted to publish it, you got that option over here, unpublished, published. So if it's unpublished, your kids do not see it. Even if they're embedded or linked into the class, they won't see it until you hit that publish button. You can publish the class, but keep all the content unpublished until you're ready to release it. And you can release that little by little. Like if you've got week 1 ready and you want to publish week 1, then go ahead and do so. And then as you get week 2 done, you can publish that. Just know that once a student turns an assignment in, it cannot be unpublished because it says someone has already turned this assignment in. We cannot unpublish it. So it's not going to unpublish if someone already interacts and submits something for an assignment. But you're just always checking those little circles and making sure it's green if you want it published, or it's gray with a line through it if you don't want it to be visible. I run into issues with publishing all the time in the sense that I think something's going to be visible to kids and then I go to student view and it's not. So this is my favorite tool to see if something's really working the way it should be. So for instance, if I click student view here.
Amanda, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
On that published versus unpublished things, if I wanted kids to see things only a week at a time,
yeah,
can I publish those a week at a time, or do I have to go in the date settings for every assignment in that weekly module and make sure that it's only for that week?
Well, here's the thing with that, Art. So here, if I sit unpublish right here on my modules, but you notice these aren't unpublishing, right? However, if I click on student view then, now week 1 is there, but week 2 and 3 are gone because I unpublished them. So long as you don't have like the assignments list over here, then they won't be able to get to those assignments, even though they were still technically marked green.
So that's probably an easier way to do a week at a time.
Yeah.
Okay, because with our middle schoolers, they tend to rush through stuff if you put up a bunch and do a terrible job. And
yeah, so I would definitely just module at a time or week at a time, just go ahead and click that. And then As you're creating, it will ask you at the end of an assignment, save or save and publish. You can just save.
Okay.
Right? And you don't have to publish it at the time. And then when you get to this module, if you click this, it will highlight all of these green if you click that.
And so then you're basically turning it on for them to see. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, go back real quick again. What if you're in a particular week? I don't know why this would happen, and there is a particular assignment you don't want them to see in that week.
You just mark that particular assignment unpublished. And so long, again, as no one has done it yet, it will let you.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that.
No, it's okay.
And then I have a question about I'm going to be teaching algebra. If there's some students that are really low in algebra, I usually help them in class. What am I going to do with those type of students when I have them?
So we're hoping to implement, so we'll have like your teaching times, your teaching periods, but we're also hoping to have an intervention period where you can have those students who need some extra support come in for maybe small group. Also during your direct instruction time, you guys can decide how you want to kind of instruct. Do you want to do a whole group for the whole 45 minutes or whatever, or do you want to meet with 2 smaller groups? And you can kind of sort them that way with the kids who maybe are struggling and the kids who maybe don't need quite as much support. So you guys can kind of decide how you want to do that.
Okay.
Does the district determine how much synchronous time we should spend with the kids or not? Is there a mandate, or do we have that discretion?
There's not a mandate in the bill, but I think that's going to be something that is discussed in the negotiations. All it says is that there needs to be live direct instruction, but it doesn't give a specific amount of time.
Right, mine is a little different because of the blended learning, just the way that was structured.
Right, and I'm talking more about the Senate bill that has come out, or the state bill that's come out because due to this particular situation and so many people having to go onto distance learning. So it's a new bill, and we're trying to sort out what it is we need to do in order to make sure that we're adhering to it.
Right, understood.
Okay, so that's one nice thing about using that student view is we can see. I do want to show you what students see when they are going to submit assignment. I think I possibly showed you earlier. It's like when you teach the same 5 periods and you're like, did I already say that? I don't remember. All right, so if I'm in student view, you can see I've got that submit assignment button. If I submit something and I'm like, oh man, that was the wrong assignment, or oh, I had the students sometimes submit something when they were partially done with it, just so they had something in there. And then I said, go back and finish it, and then you can resubmit. So they'll see a resubmit option. Once you have submitted for the first time, it has this little check mark. So if kids are asking like, did it get turned in, or do you see it? You can ask them, well, do you see that it says submitted and a date and a time? And then this would be a link to what they had. Below that, until I've graded it, it won't have this stuff, but this was an instance where I graded something, I gave them a 0, and then I put a comment just so you guys would see what that looks like for them. This is the wrong assignment, please resubmit with the correct file. So that's the point where I would want them to come in here to the resubmit and then choose a new file to upload.
So you don't have to reopen that for them or anything? That resubmit button's automatically there for them after they submit?
So long as it's not locked, like so long as the lock date hasn't passed that you've set up, yes, it's automatically a resubmit. You can set an assignment up. Let me leave this. You can set an assignment up now. This didn't used to be here. Allowed attempts, and you can limit it. But I've always just left mine unlimited, and then once the lock date passes, they have until that lock date to get it in or to get it in with fixes.
I have a question a little bit off topic about curriculum now. I'm assuming that students aren't going to be given textbooks, right? So we're going to have to essentially, like if I teach a class, like pre-calculus, I'm going to have to create all the content for them.
Still to be determined. We're not sure about textbooks yet.
For the middle schoolers for math, the Big Ideas is available online. So,
Yeah,
including
that's
the-
not the problem.
The teacher
Is
version
I have
and all that.
I have a singleton class, like a pre-calc, which doesn't, they don't have an online.
Yeah, that would be difficult.
Yeah. So again, I think that's going to be, because there's like a whole list of questions going out about what different things we're going to be able to do and not do. And I think a lot of those are being discussed in negotiations this week. So you as the teacher, how do you know if work has been submitted or needs to be graded? So students have a to-do list and teachers have a to-do list. So if I'm on my dashboard, I've got this to-do list over here because I've got these 2 assignments that have been turned in. I know that only 1 student has turned this in. If this said 30, then that would mean 30 students had turned this in. So the little bubble tells you how many there are to turn in, and then the to-do list tells you how many assignments. The worst is when it's full and then you say plus 10 more and you're like, oh. So when you are grading, and I don't know if I'm on that part yet, so I just want to make sure here. Okay, so student view and turning in work. Any questions on that stuff before I go on to the how to grade? All right, so when you are grading, you're going to use SpeedGrader. And the way you get to SpeedGrader is, sorry. If you click on that actual assignment. So this was just a sample assignment I turned into myself so you guys would see what a to-do list looked like, but it takes me to that assignment and it takes me to test student because that's how I turned it in. But you can see like, this is what an assignment looked like for them. And they have just their written responses. If they didn't turn something in, it says this student does not have a submission, and then they just earned a 0. If I had a comment about something, I was able to put it down here in assignment comments. So that's what that looks like. So
Amanda?
Yeah.
Is there a way to run what they've done through Turnitin? Because I know at the middle school, and I'm sure probably the high school too, they love to cut and paste. Like if you give them a short biography about someone, they just invariably just grab Wikipedia and slap it up there. Do we have Turnitin to look at their stuff, and is that integrated?
It is. So right here, when I'm in the assignment editor, and that's where I'm putting my assignment, choosing points, all that stuff, saying how they're going to turn it in. I have plagiarism review, and I can turn that on. And then it's going to tell me, what am I comparing it against? I'm comparing it against their repository of student essays, against websites, against periodicals, journals, and publications. So you can choose that. If we're like really focused on the English piece of it, we can enable the grammar checking, and we can talk about whether we're middle school or we're high school, what are we looking for, spelling, grammar, usage. And then students, show report to students. That's that thing I was talking about. Like they'll get a report that says, like they'll turn it in and it'll give them like that it's red because like everything's copy and pasted. Or it'll give it to them after it's graded or after the due date or never. So whether you want the student to see the report of how similar they are, you can determine that. The only thing about that is it has to be, I think it said it has to be like a minimum of 20 word assignment or something like that. So it won't compare if it's less than that. Let's see, other options. So you have this markup tool option in SpeedGrader. So this is going to be, again, more short essay, short answer. So for instance, I put this on earlier in my earlier meeting, but you've got this markup tool bar up here. So if I wanted to just leave a general comment, I could do that. And then I can say like, this is a great topic or whatever. If I wanted to highlight something, I can, whoops, highlight. I can highlight there. I can leave a comment about that particular piece that I highlighted. If I wanted them, like subject verb agreement was wrong or something, I can add a text box here and give them a suggestion for a word to use instead or something. If I want them to maybe find a synonym, maybe I just cross that out and tell them, use a different phrase here or something. So these marks would all show up for the student if they go to grades. And then there's a little blue link to the right of their grade that says view feedback. And then it would take them to this page and they would see my notes and stuff like that. And then you give them their points and then you can give them any comments you want. And then we've got rubrics, which I discovered this year in Canvas. I mean, we've all used rubrics before when we're grading different things, whether they're science fair projects or, you know, bigger projects that take a little bit more, you know, we're looking at them like in a different way than maybe like answer by answer. So rubrics are nice because you can create general rubrics to apply to multiple you can apply them to multiple assignments. So if you have like a general essay rubric, or you have a general reading comprehension check rubric, or you have a general math assignment rubric, you can do that. And the way that looks in SpeedGrader, if you're using your rubric to grade, is over here, I would click View Rubric, and then I've got my different criteria that I created for my personal statement rubric: purpose, organization, content, and individuality, and conventions. And then I created my ratings: mastery, emerging, below, or insufficient, or no mark. And then I can just say emerging, mastery, below mastery, mastery, emerging, and then I can apply it, and then it's going to give them that 16 out of 20 or whatever. So it's a way to kind of streamline and make it a little faster, especially on essays when you probably are going to spend so much time like looking at their rough drafts and stuff like that. Rubrics are also a nice way, like maybe their first draft, they're below and they get an opportunity to do a final draft, and they know their goal is to try to get up here. So they know what they need to do to try to get to improve that original grade. In order to create rubrics, I'll just show you where to do that really quickly. You can come over here to rubrics and you can click to add a rubric, and we just create it. So maybe it's a comprehension. And then I've got my criteria here. So I want to edit that, and maybe the first one is shows understanding. And I'm going to add more criteria, always the plus sign, right? And then I've got, let's see, completed assignment. And then maybe utilized evidence. Okay, and then we've got our ratings, so we can add as many as we want to. So we've got 5 points, 3 points, 0 points. You can add in between here. You can get a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or whatever. And then when you create rubric, you can also here, sorry, you can add your description here. So if we're talking about shows understanding, we might say student shows a deep understanding of the characters and their motives and, you know, whatever the case may be that we're grading. So you can have a little descriptor there. So again, the student knows like, I didn't do that, but I did this. And they've got a kind of it detailed. And then you create it. And now you've got your comprehension rubric. If I wanted to put that to an assignment, I would click on assignments. And let's say we're doing mindset quiz here. At the bottom of my assignments, I can add a rubric. So again, you can create rubrics from this point, or I can find rubrics that I've used. So this is my college and career goals. And there's that comprehension rubric. And I want to use it. So now it's there. And I'm using that rubric to grade that. All right, syncing to IC. So this one's going to be a lot. So this is really important to us, I think, as secondary teachers, especially if you are using Infinite Campus, so you don't have to maintain 2 grade books. This was a huge gift to me this year when we finally were able to do this in terms of time I spent managing 2 grade books and not having to do that anymore. So we've got a couple of options there. Again, you can come over here to your settings like I showed you earlier when we were talking about the feature options. So you can have that post to student information system automatically on, and then it should then, as you're creating assignments, have that be an automatic thing. Now, in order to make sure that's happening, when you're creating those assignments, here, Sync to Infinite Campus, now that I've marked that in my feature options, it's automatic here. It's marked, but I have to make sure I have a due date. Otherwise, it will not sync. Other reason.
Can you go back to where you started over on the navigation menu?
Yep.
Settings, okay.
Settings, feature options, and then post. Now, if I don't have that marked, I'll just show you how it's different. Well, that one's not different. Normally, that sometimes isn't clicked there. So usually if it's not marked, then that is, you just have to manually do that. Again, you want to, your assignment name has to be less than 50 characters. It will not sync over if the assignment name is more than 50 characters. You have to have a due date. And then if you're still worried it's not working, you can also check here and make sure that this little thing in front is marked green. If it's not, let's see if I have one that's not on here. Like this one, for instance, then that's currently not scheduled to sync over. So if you feel like something's not going right, you can always check your list of assignments and make sure that little green check mark is checked.
Amanda, I had a quick question on that. Since I've made mine, my assignments already, I put down right now not to sync because I didn't know the due dates and they're not, you know, connected to Infinite Campus at all. Is that going to be a problem when I copy that over into my class eventually?
When you copy it over and you create due dates for them, then when you're in the assignment putting the due date, I would just click that that blue check mark thing, link it, or to sync it, sorry.
Perfect, thank you.
So since it's right above due date, I just make sure you check mark that. Let's see. Another reason, this happens sometimes when we're creating, especially when we create like in a template course and then we transfer it over, sometimes weird dates get associated with the courses. So you just want to make sure that the dates for your courses match the dates for the term. So there were instances this past year where I had teachers saying my grades aren't syncing, and when I went in to look at this view here, and I was in course details, sometimes we have dates right here of when our course starts and ends. If you accidentally have this marked as maybe starting the day before the term actually started, so let's say we had marked this as August 11th instead of August 12th when the students are actually starting, your grades aren't going to sync. So you want to make sure those dates fall within, and you want to make sure your assignment dates fall within the course term range as well. And what I mean by that is on assignments, if we're looking at an assignment date, if I said to make this assignment available from, and I put the day before the school year started, even though my due date was coming after the school year started, it wouldn't sync over. So again, you just want to make sure all your dates are falling within that term.
So the end date doesn't matter as much as the begin date? Because I just picked December 19th, the last day of school, but I could have gone into January.
It may still tell you, for syncing purposes that it has to fall within the range.
Yeah, I always do that, but yeah. I was wondering if there's a problem if you did.
So when you want to schedule your grades to sync, so you can do it manually whenever you want by clicking here on grade sync, and then clicking sync and hitting submit. So let's say, for instance, you had like a big assignment due last week and you finally got them all graded and the kids have been pestering you and when's that gonna be done? When's that gonna be done? And you're finally done and you're like, fine, I'll just submit.
You're going in and out. I'm not sure if I'm the only one having problems hearing.
You guys let me know if you can't hear. Okay, I think people can hear me. Okay. Can you hear me, Doreen? Let me just message her real quick. Maybe she needs.
I hear you.
I can hear you just fine, Amanda.
I can hear you.
Just tell her to sign out and sign back in if she can't. All right, so again, if kids are pestering you because some big thing was due and you finally have it all graded, you can manually submit to sync your grades anytime. But what I always do when I first create my course is I do a scheduled daily sync, which means it's gonna sync every night between midnight and 7, and anything I graded at any point in that day up until midnight will sync over when they do the sync. When you're looking at the reporting here, so these were all the syncs that happened for this particular class, and you can see the status marks there, the green check marks, but you can see that they have different icons here depending on what's happening. If you see this little exclamation point, that means an error happened. Some of the stuff might have synced over, but some stuff may not have, and you can always get a full report here. I don't know if I have any more of those. Let's see. That one didn't have any errors. So if you are struggling or something doesn't seem right or some of your kids' grades aren't matching up, then you can always you can check here, and then you can see, it'll tell you like what errors happened. The nice thing is, especially when we first got this program as the paid version, I was able to communicate with Canvas when things weren't syncing over, and they're able to pull all this up and understand what all these codes mean and stuff, because I certainly am not like that computer techie where I know all those things. So they can kind of mirror your screen and see what's going on. So I do the scheduled daily sync, and then you save it, and then it will sync every night. Now, the first time assignments sync over, I have this, I found this fabulous little getting started sheet, and I will link that in kind of a resources page for you guys. But I stole this section off of it because this is a big deal. So when your assignments first sync over to Infinite Campus, you're gonna get this little drop down up at the top of your grade book for your particular course section. And you're going to have this thing called uncategorized assignments. So let's say my first 3 reading assignments pop over. They're gonna be in this uncategorized assignments. I would click them and it opens this drop down, and I have to tell them I want it in term grade, and then I want it in my reading assignments, or I want it in my quizzes, or I want it in my labs. So I have to choose which category that goes in. Now that's only going to happen the one time. You don't have to do that every night when they sync over. It's just the first time the assignment syncs, you have to do that. What that's going to look like in Infinite Campus for you guys is a little different. Oh, I gotta look at quarter 3. Hold on. So those assignment names, someone asked that earlier today. The assignment names look funny in Infinite Campus, just so you're aware. For instance, if I had, I think like remind sign up or something like the sign up for remind student, that ends up being put in they look like this. They take the first letter of every of every word, and that becomes, so SUFRS is sign up for remind student. But if you just hover over it, you can see what the full title is. So it creates the assignment in Infinite Campus there. This is where you would see that little uncategorized assignments drop down right to the right of all your other drop downs. Okay, questions on SpeedGrader and grade syncing, because I know that one's really important.
Okay, Amanda?
Yeah.
If it doesn't sync over till 7 p.m. and a student needs to see their grade before that, we can just go to IC and manually pop it in?
I would just actually hit the, in Canvas, I would hit that submit button, because you have that nightly sync, but
right.
If you click, whoops, wrong one. If you click this submit button right here, it will do a manual sync right then and there.
Okay.
If you put something manually into Infinite Campus, when it syncs that night, the Canvas grade would override your manual input.
Okay.
With that, as long as the category on Infinite Campus and the category on Canvas are the same, it will go into where it belongs.
So long as when you have the uncategorized assignments over here, you put it in the correct category. So let's say it was a lab, right? And then over here in the uncategorized assignments, you put that into labs. That's going to sync no matter what. You want to make sure that you have the same categories and percentages in Infinite Campus as you do in Canvas so that their grades match up. Like even if I didn't categorize them in Canvas, I could categorize them here. It's just more for grades matching up if you're doing weighted categories.
So Amanda, can you review? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Would you recommend weighted?
I don't have a recommendation one way or the other. I just want you guys to do the way you were comfortable with doing it. So if you had category, I only have one category, Canvas assignments. It's worth 100% of their grade. It makes it easier for me when I have to give my categories, because over here in settings, I can, I think it's one of these. Non-campus assignment defaults. I can default all those assignments to be Canvas assignments in my term grade. And then I won't get that drop down if I set that up, but I only have the one category. But if you have multiple categories, like I know a lot of math teachers count their, tests for, 40%, 50%, and then they've got homework and participation and those kinds of things. So that's just a personal teaching preference, whatever you want to do.
Okay, thank you.
Amanda, can you go over that drop down again? I'm sorry. I mean, you said the first time that you sync the assignment, you have to choose the category?
Yeah.
I didn't quite follow that.
Okay, so
Is this an Infinite Campus is this an Infinite Campus or in Canvas?
It's an Infinite Campus. So
okay.
You know how in Infinite Campus, when you're keeping a grade book there, you create your categories?
Right.
Okay, so you're going to do that same thing, just like if you were setting up your grade book at the beginning of the school year. So you'll create those categories in your Infinite Campus gradebook. When you sync over when you create your assignments in Canvas and you ask them to sync over, the first time they do, you're going to get this right here, this red circled where it says uncategorized assignments. The first time my husband synced all his stuff over, it said like 47 because he synced everything over all at once.
Okay.
And then that just creates this drop-down menu here where you have the whole list of assignments. So you'll have all your assignment names. You're going to choose the term grade. And then here you're going to decide whether it's a classwork assignment and you want it to go in that category, or do you want it in the quiz category, or do you want it in your participation category? And then you'll save that. And then everything will sync over. All the grades will sync over from that point on.
Amanda, quick question. If you have the same categories set up ahead of time in IC and Canvas, will it put them in the correct location initially, or do you always have to choose?
Initially, it's always going to put them in uncategorized assignments.
Okay.
The reason for doing the categories in both.
How will it know for future ones then? Just because they're the same categories are available on both?
What do you mean? How will they know for future ones?
Well, if for week 2 I have an assignment.
You're going to have to do the same thing week 2. You're going to get them here in uncategorized assignments, and then you're going to have.
So every sync I have to go through and tell it where they go?
Every new assignment that gets synced over. So let's say I sync my week 1 assignment.
I thought we only had to do that once. Okay. So
what I meant by that, by once, is when you first sync your week 1 assignments over, you have to tell it which category to go into. But every night when it updates the grades, because new kids have turned those same assignments in.
Right.
But yes.
So additional assignments that have already been told where to go, it knows where to put them.
Yes.
But every time you have a new assignment, you have to tell it where to put it.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Just one thing you want to keep in mind too is when it will update. Like, so if you have something on like IC, if you enter a grade on IC, it'll update. Every time it updates, it'll change it from whatever it is on Canvas.
Yeah, change your grades in Canvas. Don't change them in IC, because when it updates, when it does the sync, the Canvas grade is always going to override the IC grade.
So when you open up IC, then it'll ask you what category to link each assignment to, like automatically.
Yeah, it gives you this. It's in your, when you're looking at your grade book here, and you've got, term and course. Right here to the very right, it'll have this uncategorized assignments, and it'll tell you like there's 15 of them, and you click it, and it gives you that drop down.
Okay, and then I'll just put them where they go, and
Which category you want them to go into? Yeah.
It asks you 2 things. It asks you like which term you want to assign. You have to assign it to term grade and then assign it to your category.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so Amanda, if I just want to do the one category, do I still have to go to that section to do anything, or does it do it on its own?
If you're just doing like Canvas assignments category and you're just doing your differentiation based on points or whatever, then I would select to do this over in your IC gradebook settings. You've got non-campus assignment defaults.
Okay.
And you would choose your default category, which would be Canvas assignments, and your term grade. And if you save that, anytime new assignments sync over, then it's gonna go to these defaults. So you wouldn't get that uncategorized assignments thing pop up.
Okay. And then I don't have to like sync it then, like it's already done. I don't have to like do that again.
You'll still have to select in the grade sync, you'll have to select to have it done manually, or sorry, you'll have to do the scheduled thing. But you won't have to do anything in Infinite Campus. It will just automatically push over.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
And that was applicable to one category in Infinite Campus.
If you only have one category, yeah. So there are some teachers who figure like, oh, my course is going to be worth 1,000 points. And then they figure like tests are worth, 400 of those points, so that they're 40%. If you only want to do one category that way, you can. But it's really not that much work to initially categorize the assignments. It doesn't take long. Any other questions on this syncing and SpeedGrader? All right. Last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is communication with students and families. We all know, obviously, as teachers, how important that student-teacher connection and relationship is, and it becomes more of a student-teacher-family connection and relationship when we're talking about distance learning, because we know that the families play a role in really making sure that our students are setting aside that time to learn. So these are some of my suggestions from over the years, is making sure that if we are doing announcements in our Canvas classes, that we talked earlier about making sure that, they see their most recent ones here. And then also, we will be setting up observer accounts for parents so that they'll be able to see the students' progress and be able to see the students' classes. So they should have access to these announcements as well.
Amanda,
that-
are we?
Well,
I'm sorry. Quick question.
will all of that
Are
be
we not
done
using
before
Parent
we
Square
get
anymore?
started?
Hold
The
on.
link to the parents?
There were two. So Art, what was your question first?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we just set up Parent Square last year. Are we not doing that anymore? Is it through Canvas instead?
We are still using Parent Square to get information out to parents, but I would use announcements just kind of as you know, information on how to maybe submit an assignment or reminders about upcoming deadlines or something like that. Parent Square is going to go more towards the parents, right? And announcements will be more geared towards the students.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you heard me. Will the observer accounts be set up by the time we get going on the 12th?
They are supposed to be set up by the time we get going.
Yes.
Okay.
For our middle school and high school kiddos that have super involved parents, or we have parents who are reaching out and saying, what more can I do? You can always have parents add their information into the student notifications process. When you're looking at your settings, and this is the same when students are looking at their own settings, we can add email addresses here. So again, these parents are supposed to be getting observer accounts, so they should get the messages. But this is just another avenue if you want. You can add parent email addresses here. You can also add cell phone numbers so that they would get text notifications about certain things. So if you have parents who are, you know, concerned or say they're not getting the messages, that's one thing you can tell them that they can do. And then you can set it up so that you get like an email or you get a text notification right away when a new announcement is posted. And that might be something that they would be interested in.
And student contact information will automatically be imported into Canvas, is that correct?
It's going to be their student email address. If they want to add a personal email address, because that student email is not something they check often, then we would, that's like something I make as one of my first assignments.
Yeah, I do also, but I wondered, it will be in there. Whatever is in their school record will be in there.
This email right here is their student email address.
Okay.
And if they say, I don't really check it, then they can add other ones.
Okay, okay.
You can use that Canvas inbox to write in messages to individual students or small groups of students, and then students can also email you through that system. So long as you have your notifications set up the right way, which, let me just show you which one it is. A conversation message. If you have that check marked, then you'll get a notice to your email that a student has emailed you through Canvas. And the nice thing about getting it to your email is you can just answer straight from your email and the student's going to get it back to their Canvas inbox. So if you're like home or away from your computer and not in Canvas at the time, but you like check your phone and you see that you got a Canvas message, you can just respond back straight from your school email and it will go to the student's Canvas inbox. And then one of the greatest things about the Canvas gradebook is the Message Students Who feature. So I want to show you guys how that works. So if you're in your grade book, we've got all our grades here, and then I would select these three dots and you can message students who. So haven't submitted yet. We'll choose a different assignment because.
That's really nice.
Haven't submitted yet. I've got all my kiddos here who never submitted that online. Haven't been graded. That would be if maybe I got super behind on my grading, but I want to let them know, hey, I got your stuff. I just, you know, I'm going to work on it and it'll be caught up by this weekend or whatever. scored less than, so this is really good for like our tests and quizzes where there's like showing like not understanding. Maybe you want to have like a small group intervention or something. If they scored less than a 50%, so let's say they scored less than a 5, then it would come up, and then I could put a subject like scored less than 5 on this assignment, special small group session, and then I would put a little message there inviting them to it. Or if you want to give accolades and they scored more than, right? And then everybody who did a great job on that assignment, you can give shout outs. So that's a feature I really like, and you know, I think is a great tool to make sure that
that's really great.
You can use Studio, as I was showing you guys earlier, how we can create those videos, either videos of yourself doing a lesson, or you can embed YouTube videos, but we can also just create these videos to be announcements. And I did one of those.
Does it store the videos on Canvas, or do you have to have a link to it from like, say, like a YouTube or something?
So it stores them in your Studio. So I've created this, welcome to week 1.
Is there a limit to like how much space we can store? Because videos will take up a lot of.
I don't believe, I mean, they say as far as when you're creating them and you're like uploading them, the longer they are, the longer it takes. But I don't believe, and Mr. Mulvaney knows, that there's much of a limit on these right now.
I think it's like 500 gigs or 5,000 gigs or something. And we can get more too. We've never come even close to it. So if we need to, then we can just get more. They just charge by the gig or something like that. Yeah. If you're linking YouTube videos there, then it's like nothing. You're basically making that YouTube video not have ads, which is kind of cool. And then host it on, or like kind of redirected from Instructure. And then that's where, I don't know, if you're going to get into it, Amanda, like the quizzes feature, then it's really just sort of not really hosting it anymore. It's kind of just redirecting it.
Yeah, we talked about quizzes in it a little bit earlier, but so you can create your videos here. They could just be little announcements. So I did that with this one, for instance. So I'm in my secondary course here. Here's my most recent video. Watch this video, or my most recent announcement. Watch this video for an introduction to your week 1 assignments. And I'll just play it real quick.
Hi guys, welcome to the first week of school. I just wanted to let you know that you will be working on the following assignments for this week. So let me just get to them very quickly. So for week 1, I just want you to remember that you can reach your daily direct instruction links by clicking on this daily Zoom links page. You'll click on the button for the period that you need to attend, whether it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11:30, or 12:30. Just make sure you're attending the correct class. We will be going over information about the story, The Necklace, this week. There are videos in this page, and there is an assignment that you need to use those videos in order to answer. We'll also be reviewing parts of speech nouns this week. We will be completing a pre-reading discussion, and then I will be adding in a post-reading discussion. You will be reading the story, The Necklace. We will be taking a quiz to go over the nouns that you learned about this week. And finally, to deepen and enhance that understanding and the themes of the story, The Necklace, you will be creating or answering these short response questions to the necklace. Each one of those responses needs to be about a paragraph long, and there are 2 of them. If you have any questions, please be sure that you use this Canvas inbox to reach out to me and ask your questions so that I can clarify anything you need. I hope you guys have a great week, and I can't wait to see you at our first Zoom meeting.
So that's just a quick, if you had like something, maybe kids weren't submitting right or something was happening, you could do little tutorials there and make an announcement. And, you know, just a weekly welcome. Hey, what's up? This is me in my face because, you know, we're not able to see each other all the time. things like that. When you create those, you can also you can get a share link. So you can create a public link here. So we can even embed that link into Parent Square and things like that if parents weren't, you know, if you wanted them to get the video announcement or something like that. So you can create links so that these videos are made, but they don't have to only be put in Canvas. You can email those videos out too. So like I said, we'll still be using Parent Square. Parent Square, I think, is primarily going to be where the parents get their announcements from the student's home school, because the student is still considered a part of their comprehensive middle school or high school. Google Voice, for those of you who are familiar with summer school and you know, kind of saw how this whole distance learning went out, and we want to get people like working, but you don't necessarily want to reach out with your own personal phone number. You can utilize Google Voice, which will set up a separate phone number to go to your mobile device. And the parents can call that separate phone number and it pushes to your mobile device, and you can use Google Voice to call parents and a different phone number shows up so that they're not getting your personal information. And then also for middle school.
Amanda, can you stop there for a second? Google Voice, if I was to call a parent or they were to call me, would it always be the same number or would it regenerate a new one each time?
It's always the same number.
I noticed when you call though, when you dial their number, it shows you calling a different number other than their number. I'm not sure why that happens.
Okay. I haven't used it personally, but I know that this is kind of like one of the options for people who want to reach out with their phone.
Yeah, I'll send you guys something in the team if you need to, but yeah, you basically have like an online phone number so you can call from there. So you'll have like a Google Voice number. I used to do this at the principal at SCOA and just post it everywhere. People are always like, oh, you gave me your cell phone number. Well, it's technically a Google Voice number. So because when you pick it up, it works a little bit differently. It'll say you're getting a phone number or a phone call from your Google Voice number. Do you want to take it? Or it transcribes voicemail, which at the time was like super innovative. Now it's sort of old hat. But it's a way to make it so your phone number isn't being used. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. But yeah, you'll call their number, and I'll post a link to get a little bit more information in the chat so you guys can review that.
I found that texting through that worked well with getting a hold of parents, because sometimes they don't want to answer because they don't know the number. But if you text them in advance with that Google number and then call them, they'll pick up more likely.
True. Well, I think that's kind of the norm. There's a lot of times you get a phone call from like a random number, even if you're using your own cell phone number. But if you text it, they're like, oh, okay, it's Karen. I'll talk to her.
Okay, and then we've got Remind, which is something that a lot of high school teachers use. But you know, our secondary students, a lot of them have phones, a lot of them have access to downloading the Remind app, and so they're able to get, you know, quick notifications from the teacher if you want to set something like that up as well. We're going to be doing live direct instruction. Again, I don't think that the exact schedule is hammered out just yet, but part of what our attendance is going to be based, or part of our accountability to students, is that we provide the same rigorous curriculum as in person. So that direct instruction is expected every day. We want to give students the opportunity to not only interact with the teacher, but also the opportunity to interact with one another. You can utilize Zoom or Teams, whichever format you're most comfortable with. And you can embed those meeting links into your Canvas course so students can easily access it. I want to see, did I show you guys the
Is
go over the
Zoom or
connection?
Sorry, say that again.
Can you go over the Zoom, or I believe Zoom, yeah, go over the Zoom connection?
Yeah. And then who else asked a question?
is which is the district using most with students? You know, the Microsoft or the Zoom one, because it gets confusing for kids and for parents as to which one to be on from time to time.
They're not going to designate one specific one. They're going to give you guys the option. They're getting a license with Zoom. So we'll have a district license where we can authenticate with our accounts and stuff, not using personal accounts. So it will be kind of
either Zoom or Team. Okay.
Yeah, one of the two. As far as Zoom, when again, we're still kind of working that out with the license. So we'll be getting an actual like school related license. But you just, once you're logged in, you can schedule your meeting and it generates a link for you. So you can do one of two things. You can do like we did here, where we just created the time buttons, and I just linked when I created this, and I clicked on the image. I just copied and pasted the link for the Zoom in there. And then option 2, I want to do, or here, actually. Show you what this looks like here too. So if I'm in here and I go down, I can embed a Microsoft Teams meeting right here. So it asks me to sign into my account, and it asks me to create a meeting link. So I can say, Mrs. Klopp's class meeting. Maybe we're meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'm going to create that. And then I'm going to click copy. And it's going to put the link right there for the students to join. So I can do the same. I can do the same button here. I can pull from my course images. I can choose my 8 a.m. button. And then there's my link to my 8 a.m. class. I can put my 9 a.m. button. And then I can create another link here. Create another meeting link for 21st at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Create.
I know that Teams has a way to, the students have to log in through their student ID. Is there a way to set that feature up on Canvas, or on Zoom, I'm sorry, so that we can monitor, really know who's coming in?
When we get the licenses, it'll be a better authentication process for students than the students just creating their own. They'll have to log in with their
Yeah, that's right, Amanda. Like Lonnie taught this summer, and because we didn't have full integration of Zoom with our district, we weren't able to authenticate kids. So it might come in iPhone 11, iPhone 8, and with the authentication in Teams and Zoom, you'll know exactly which kids are in your Zoom or Teams video conferencing.
So that's the way to kind of create those Teams meetings or those Zoom meetings. Okay, questions on the communication with students and families?
I have a question. If there's some students that don't come to Zoom, do we just try to encourage them to come, or do we give them no points, or how does that work?
So those kids who aren't coming, you would definitely want to reach out and figure out what the issue might be that's keeping them from attending those Zooms. There is also going to be attendance. Students can also be given attendance for asynchronous learning. So long as they're interacting with the curriculum and having contact with the teacher, even if it's not in Zoom, they can get attendance. But we definitely want to encourage them to attend that live direct instruction. We understand that in these kind of crazy times, you know, it might not be a perfect scenario all the time. But definitely I would start off with, if students aren't coming, start off with reaching out and seeing what's going on at the house so that that's keeping them from attending those, and then go from there.
Okay, and also last quarter, the students weren't communicating with me, so I tried calling the parents. They weren't answering, so I started calling the emergency phone numbers, and I was able to get through them, but the problem is when the parent called, when I finally started calling the parents back, she got really upset and says, why are you calling everybody in my whole family? I said, you guys weren't even answering. I've been calling almost every other day to reach you. And so am I not supposed to use emergency phone numbers if I can't get through parents or students?
I mean, we want to give some time for them to return phone calls, but if you've called like 2 or 3 times and left messages and gotten nothing back, I don't see the harm. You know, it's possible that their phone number changed or you don't have their updated contact information. So I as an independent study teacher, have countless times reached out to emergency contacts. Sometimes the same thing happens, you know, people get upset because, you know, they're avoiding your phone calls, but you know, they need to know that we have a job to do, and that's to educate their kids.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I wanted to show you guys that I forgot to show you a little bit earlier, and this is just another way to integrate into assignments. I really like it. I just have to log out as me because I have to log in as my daughter real quick. So you can enable, or you can use the external submission, and you can have the students have a cloud assignment. So let me show you what that looks like on their end. So what this does is, if you are down in the submission where you're determining how students are going to submit, you would choose external tool, and then you would choose create a cloud assignment through Office 365. And then it just puts the assignment straight into their screen. So it's not taking them out of Canvas or anything like that. And then they can answer the questions right then and there, and it's saving it in the student's own OneDrive. So they've got their name here. They would, so this was the one where they had to read or watch the videos and then answer the questions. So what is the video's definition of literary analysis? So the student would then be able to, oh, they have to hit edit document, sorry. So the student would then be able to type in their definition. Irony, the different types of examples of Okay, so if the student answers all those questions and then they allow it to save, and it does take a minute, but then they hit submit here. And then they say finished. Okay, so then it tells them here when they submitted and they know this has been turned in. Now I can log out or log in as myself, and then I'll see that show up on my to-do list as something to grade. And I did it earlier today, so I see my earlier submission, and then I see her later submission now. Oh, it didn't have time to save. Let me fix it. Well, that would take time to log out, but like I said, it does take some time for it to save and then upload the right one. But you can always say, like, if for instance they didn't have all the work there and they said, oh, but I did it, you can have them log back in and submit again, and then you can give them the score there.
Amanda, how do you use how do you put in the Nearpod? Say you find something on Nearpod and you want to add it to your curriculum, I guess?
Yeah, I'll show you that real quick. So if you have a Nearpod assignment, you're gonna, in submission type, you're gonna link to an external tool, click find, come down here to Nearpod. Now you have to have things in your library. This is like my library of things. So you'll have already come over here and in Nearpod found the things that you want.
It doesn't sync the grades though, right? You have to go manually move them from Nearpod to put them in, right?
Brian's one, but I think it does sync, yeah.
It does. So the way that we added them in the enrichment courses, we added them as an external tool from the top of the module. If you, with most external tools, if you create an assignment in Canvas and then choose submission type of external tool, which in this case we'd pick a Nearpod, it's going to give you the participation report, but in SpeedGrader. So then if you have quizzes and that kind of thing, then because Nearpods aren't just quizzes, they're, you know, drawings and short answers and even flip grids and videos and things like that. But it would give it to you, it would give you the participation report that usually you'd have to go to Nearpod to get. It'll give that to you right in your, right in there in your SpeedGrader. So you'd be able to kind of look at theirs and be like, all right, they didn't do anything. That's a 3, that's a 5, that's a 10, that's a whatever.
So then when you're there in that external tool and you decide which one you're wanting to embed, you can choose whether it's the student paced or the live lesson. Hit select. Now you'll see that URL is there, and then you can just choose a due date, save it, or save and publish it. And now I have that Nearpod assignment. So then I can put that in. I can add it into my whoops, let me go to my modules. Oops, that was a Nearpod assignment. So I add it. And now it's down here at the bottom. And then when the student clicks in, or.
So the one you were showing us before this though was all you did was post like a Word doc so they could write on there the responses below the question?
Yeah, so I don't know what is going on with mine. It's not working. I had to have my husband make that one last night. But let me see if I can show you the process at least. Let's see, add assignment. So cloud assignment. So these would be your directions. And then again, it would be external tool. You're clicking Office 365 cloud assignment, and it should link to your Office 365 then. So
But if they have that feature, so does it, when it opens up on their end, do they have to have Word on there?
no,
Or
it's
is it working in the cloud?
all these kids have a OneDrive, right? Because they all have Office 365 through the district. So it's just right there in the window, and it's saving to their OneDrive as they're doing it.
Okay. All right.
So I would choose my assignment that I wanted them to answer and attach it. And this is what was happening to me last night, Ryan. It just keeps doing the attach, and it never actually follows through. But my husband was able to make one for me. So I don't know what's going on with my OneDrive specifically that's not allowing me to embed it as an external tool. But if you hit attach, normally it would then go to the select screen again. You'd have the URL here, and then you just save it, and then you would have that assignment the way you guys saw it, where you saw it embedded in the window.
Amanda, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I actually had a few hard copies of things that were not, in my documents on my computer. And so I scanned them, and my idea was, okay, well, I'll, upload them, which I did, but then I realized, well, the kids can't write on them. So how do I get them to be able to either, write on that document? Like I want to do kind of what you just did with that, having them open it, or, because what I was doing then, but it takes a while, is to do the text box thing, ahead of time before I upload it. But I was just trying to see if there was an easier way.
I think that I was mentioning earlier that you can look up, but I don't know all the tools that are on there, but I love pdf.com. And they have different tools you can use with PDFs, because when you scanned it, then you're making a PDF of it, right?
Right.
So they may have like a converter that you can use, or there's the Cami.
Word itself will try and turn a PDF back into a Word document if that's useful.
Okay.
And then there's the app Cami, and I think that's what is it, Ryan, with a C? AMI? I don't know.
It's with a K, but that's a extension, so it doesn't really work as well. If they're using the Canvas app, then they have the ability to mark up a PDF directly.
Okay, so Lindsay, if they're on their iPad and they're using the app, then they may be able to just mark it up like using a stylus or something.
Or their finger.
Okay.
Because then they can just take a screenshot of the image and then upload the image. Okay. So last thing I'll mention, when you guys are meeting with your team tomorrow, like your team of similarly contented teachers, they'll go over a lot of the integrations again, like I went over and touched on just now briefly with some of them. Got Office 365, Turnitin, Flipgrid, Play-Doh, Nearpod, CK12. CK12 is math and science mostly. There's a couple of other things in there. And then Pearson for English, and some of the science have great integrations with Canvas, and it's easy to get our content into there. So we don't want everybody to be like reinventing the wheel. Like I know it can feel so daunting. So whatever you can do to kind of pull these things in and make your life easier. And I will be reaching out to those people who will be working with you tomorrow to make sure they talk about these few things before you really get started going and putting the content in there. And then just so you know, the way it's going to work, and we kind of touched upon it, that you're having all these kids from all these schools in your courses. So you're technically, even though, let's say, Lindsay, for instance, is a Canyon Lake Middle School teacher, but she might have kids from Terracotta in her 8th grade class, and she might have kids from David A. Brown in her 8th grade class. So she's actually going to be a teacher at all of those middle schools that she has students in her classes from. So when we are taking attendance, you will have to go into different IC attendances to take your Terracotta attendance, to take your David Brown attendance. So just be aware of that. The thing that also does is, whereas maybe at Canyon Lake, you would have gotten your 1st and 3rd and 5th period language arts on your screen on your dashboard for your 1st, 3rd, and 5th language arts, and maybe your 2nd and 4th social studies. You might see a 1st period language arts from David Brown, a 1st period language arts from Terracotta, a 1st period language arts from Canyon Lake, but we do have a way to make those courses, to smush them all into one. So it's called cross-listing. So really, ultimately, it will just look like one course on yours, but you'll have basically what it ends up being is different sections in that course. You'll have a David Brown section, a Terracotta section, a Canyon Lake section, maybe a Luiseño section if we've got the 8th graders from there. So any changes you make to your one course will be pushed out to all of those courses as soon as they're cross-listed.
Okay.
Okay.
Will that happen, will it happen like sometime before the end of July that we know who's on our list?
Well, so this week I'm doing like a lot of the trainings and stuff, and then hopefully next week we can work on scheduling and getting students in courses and stuff like that. So hopefully by the end of July, but I'm going to say maybe more like the 1st week of August.
I just wanted to clarify what you just said. So you're saying that when we open up Infinite Campus, we open up the grade book, they're all going to be listed there, right? Under the same, we're not going to have to switch back and forth between sections, right? For the different schools.
I'm not going to look on a grade book.
Well, when I look at my grade book, I have a list of all my students. So you're saying they're going to be, but they're going to be in subgroups of like, say, Lake or whatever the different high schools, right? Are they all going to be under the same, or does that mean you have to switch between sections on your grade book?
I would have to defer to Mr. Ryan on that one because I'm not 100% sure how that's going to look. But he may not be.
Because I'm wondering how that's going to be affected by, say, when your grades are synced.
I don't think it's going to affect the syncing of the grades. It may affect how many times you have to categorize that assignment initially. But each section is still going to sync over to its section of IC. So your section of, let's say your section of Lakeside Pre-Calculus is going to sync to your section of Lakeside Pre-Calculus and IC. Your section of Canvas Temescal Pre-Calculus is going to sync to your Temescal Pre-Calculus and IC. So it's
so
still,
like,
it's still,
yeah, so what I'm saying is
still, it's got a connection. It's got like a code connection that it's creating from one course to the other.
All right. Okay. Well, I guess we'll see when it comes. Thanks.
Very well.
So kind of what I'm getting, Amanda, from that is that like my course 1, I'm going to have CLMS, Brown, Elsinore Middle, whatever. I'll have that group in my course 1, but I independently take attendance for each of those school sites or whatever with those kids, but yet the grades will be synced appropriately for that school.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So just like here, when I'm like in my, so I have like Keith McCarthy right here, right? But I can change my school sites here. So you'll have multiple school sites listed, and you'll just have to go into each school site to take attendance for those kiddos that are still linked with that school.
Okay.
So that means you're gonna, like, when you open up a grade book, you're gonna have to switch between different schools for the same class.
Yes, but if you're doing all your grades in Canvas, you can look at them as one full grade book. You don't have to click between different ones in Canvas.
Oh, okay.
And if
Right,
it's
okay.
just pushing everything on its own to IC, you don't really have to worry too much about going into IC to check the grade book there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess wow, we really almost made it to the end. So I am here. I am your designated go-to person for virtual learning for at least this first semester. So you can reach out to me. My email, I think on some of the emails I sent out to you guys, I put my phone number, so you can always give me a call. This blue menu over on the left, that help is really gonna be valuable to you. You've got those Canvas guides, this phone number, 24/7 support for teachers. You can report problems you're having. So I would definitely check that out if you feel like you're floundering a little bit.
They're pretty responsive too. I've called like their tech support and they got back to me right away.
Oh yeah, they are very responsive. And that's the end. So any questions you guys have or whatever you need, just let me know. I will be sending out a reiteration of the Canvas the trainings that are coming up for the next 3 days. I'll send that out to everybody. And then I'll also put the groups of teachers on there, like who's teaching language arts and social studies. So maybe you guys can coordinate, like we'll go to English from like 8 to 10 and we'll go to social studies from 10 to 12, or I think it's 8:30 12:30, so 8:30 10:30 10:30 12:30. So you guys can kind of figure out how you want to do that. I will be leading the English ones from 8:30 to 12:30 for the next 3 days. Trenton Tate will be leading the math. Elaine Seiler will be leading the science. Paul, if Chantel wants to pop into those and help out, that would be awesome too. And who else?
For social studies?
Social studies will be Claudia Ramirez.
What about physical education?
Physical education, I don't know if I told Mr. Mulvaney said he was going to kind of take care of the specials like electives and PE. I don't know if he's going to still be able to do that, but I will reach out to him if he's not on this. I mean, he's listed, but I think he may have stepped away from his desk.
No, I'm here.
I
just want Paul to say please. No, yeah, we'll set that up. I gotta see when the times are and maybe move some things around, but we'll help you out.
It's a big change from trees and flowers.
Exactly, birds and
Just
stuff.
so you know, Ryan, I did get Kathy Blakemore's PE class.
Oh, nice.
And I created a virtual PE class. She said that it's really primarily for 6th grade, but if we're only doing it for a year, we could probably just put all middle school in it. And I invited Paul
Some
and
of Kathy's class required equipment like stopwatches and things like that. So
they have their iPad, they could stop watching.
yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
We'll just have to get creative. I'm sure we can figure ways out. And you can go in and I made copies of her course. So what you guys have access to is not the original. So you can, make changes.
Now, is that in Play-Doh or is that in Canvas? Because I know she built it originally in Play-Doh.
Canvas. I invited you in Canvas.
Okay. So we can change it on the fly then. So as we get into it, if we need to make modifications.
Yeah, what I would do is I would make a new one for you that's like a new course that's called like McMahon's PE course, and then just embed that content. That way we're not changing
Right. Okay.
of the original. But yeah, then you can just change whatever you want for yourself.
Okay.
So all the meetings then start at 12:30 to 4:30. That's what I'm showing.
No, the rest of this week is 8:30 to 12:30.
Oh, okay. So all right. So the math's 8:30 to 12:30.
Yeah.
And I might have missed it, but for the attendance, are we doing attendance by the work they do for that day or the team calls, or how are we doing the attendance?
You can do attendance based on them just logging into the direct live instruction. If students don't log into direct live instruction, but they did some of the online work, you can also grant attendance. So it's really just, did they interact with the class in some capacity that day?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is this video recorded in Help, by the way?
This one, I did record this one. It'll probably take a while because it's almost 4 hours to, you know, run the recording, but I will share it with you guys. Yeah.